Oh, hi.
I have been talking this entire time, and I had myself muted because I'm a dumbass. I'm
I
set,
do that
I'm
too
I'm setting
sometimes.
everything up. I'm still trying to use Streamlabs. I'm still screwing around with everything else. What I had said was we're getting things set up, and we really have nothing planned for tonight. It's just a get together and try to get everybody together just to talk on the lonely Friday nights. Whoever shows up.
Oh, I just saw the invite to join the stage. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to talk. I said I want to bring Sapper up because he sounds like somebody interesting. I mean, most people that are down in the audience right now, they're all welcome to come up too. Typically,
I swear I'm not the only interesting person in here. I've already met some of y'all. Oh man, especially in the chats. I've loved the chats in the morning show. It's a delicious wake up.
so there's an interesting mix going on here right now because several of the people that are in the state in the audience right now, they're from another server that I've been running for a few years. So we've got kind of community going over there as well. So they're not as familiar. Ziz has been around here a couple times. Bale kind of floats in, and I think he knows how uninteresting I can be. So, but I do want to. I don't know if you've looked at our other shows we've had of these. We have had some.
I'm fairly new, but
Okay,
I was an instant join.
sure.
Right, I was just like, I love this. I love this
Yep.
program. I love the format. It was like a 99 cents a month. I'm in.
Yeah. Chris is a very interesting guy. I've known him for a couple of years. I'm glad he's back and doing it, and I wanted to do whatever I can to build his audience. And I said I'd work on some kind of a get together on Friday nights or regularly, at least one night a week, doing debates and stuff. But for now, this is really just a meet and greet. Um, I'm literally just going to throw out invites to everybody on the stage who wants to come up and chat because uh, I don't recognize JT. JT, come up here and tell me who the hell you are. I recognize everybody else though, so you're all welcome to come up here. And Ziz ain't coming.
I'm just JT. I'm in the YouTube chat every day.
Oh, are you? Are you
Yeah,
as
yeah.
JT?
Well, most of the days. I've actually missed a lot of days recently just
Okay.
because it's been my in between semesters, so I just been sleeping in late.
Well, Chris said he might show up. It'd be interesting to have him come in and talk to him. Have some people do a little fangirl with
But
him.
I'm
Yeah,
in there. I'm in there a lot of days, and I see like several names I've interacted
Yeah.
with.
I'm working during the morning, so usually I'll just kind of drop in and make my snarky comments and just keep moving on. But
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping we can get some
I
people
will
in.
add, Chris did actually directly invite me to possibly talk about collab with the gaming thing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's not what I want to take this time up for. That's not what this is all about. But yeah, I do hope he shows for
Hey,
sure.
any topic. Like I said, I'm open for anything right now. Dave was here a couple weeks ago when we had a very interesting guy show up. You saw Dave's eyes perk up. Um, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name. Um, the guy who was talking about the
His name
dreams.
on the thing was Lawrence, but that wasn't his real name, right?
Yeah, was it Phantom? Phantom, did you send me the all of his information because you knew who he was?
On who?
Remember that Lawrence guy who showed up and was babbling on for hours?
Oh man, yeah.
He's
Walker the Third,
Yeah,
second.
he's semi famous. I mean, he was a
Yeah,
music composer for a bunch of stuff years ago, and
yeah,
he
yeah.
was he was a hoot.
He's yeah. He's made his rounds around a lot of the channels that I've frequented, at least, and he's always saying the same stuff. He's very uh he's got some issues and has some delusions.
Yeah, and the really interesting thing was that he oh wait, I just heard somebody either fall down or explode in my
Oh
house.
no, sorry. I was just
No, no,
bringing
no.
my space heater down from the ceiling.
No, it happened in my house. Yeah, definitely. It was I heard my wife
Oh,
and
Oh,
I heard we have a Saint Bernard, and I don't know if he just tried to jump a fence or what was going on, but I don't hear anybody screaming in pain or anything else going on right now. So I think the crisis has passed. But
Scotty, I
um,
found
go ahead.
the description of his tail seemed quite interesting, but it also was very obvious in that all of the things that he professed to see, the Blackfoot and the flaming thing and whatever else it was,
That's what it was.
all started after his stroke.
Right.
He had a very, very serious stroke, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's entirely possible that his personality changed. I don't want to say 100%, but significantly between who he was when he was that
Right.
famous person working on those projects and who he was when he was speaking with us. So,
Yeah, 100%. There was something that happened there. So,
Call it a candidate explanation.
he wasn't outright offensive or rude or it was just a bizarre chat. He was pretty well behaved.
he was very compelled to tell his tale.
Sure.
Very compelled to tell his tale. And I think it's, I mean, we could delve into the human psyche, and, if Paul and Shannon Q were here, I'm sure they could dig into it in depths that goes so far beyond where I'm at. But you could almost taste it in the air that he missed the fame that he had before, and telling this compelling story to people who would listen to it was providing him with that feedback in his life, right?
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Sometimes it just feels good to be paid attention to.
Yes, absolutely.
And sometimes people take that the wrong way, right? It feels good to be paid attention to, but what they've learned to get attention doesn't feel good to other people.
Oh, absolutely. And we can actually crave attention that hurts us inevitably in the end. And that's the way life is. Are you guys familiar with Canadian Ollie Man?
I think so.
See, he's super awesome. He does a lot of the Bin podcast with Mikey Famine and the gang over there. I would say don't hesitate to bring him into the discussion here. He's a heck of a guy.
Yeah, like I said, I will throw invites to everybody else random to see who wants to come up. And I see Loving Salt down there has already said that she can't VC. I think she's lied. I've heard her talk all the time, but maybe she's, who knows? Maybe she's too drunk. I don't know. I'm just teasing you, Salt.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice after a long day of work at the dock? Just have a few too many.
100%. I think I've talked to Ollie Man before. I think he's fun.
Yes.
I am right now sipping on some whiskey and I guess sipping on some banana OG, but less sipping and more inhalation.
When you say banana OG, that's not OJ. You didn't mean orange juice.
No, OG.
Sounds like a strain, huh?
It is, banana OG. It is a strain.
Yeah, I got the pink Death Bubba right now.
Nice.
I just got a pound of it in the mail on Tuesday.
A pound.
I have a delivery service. This is really cool how this happened the other day. And I normally get they have a deal for their house shatter for 10 grams for $100. But also they do 1 free gram with each order. But because I don't use flour, I only use concentrate, and I've been with them for like 4 years. They called me up and like, hey, we're out of shatter, we're out of crumble, we none of the house stuff. And I was like, well, do you have anything comparable? He's like, well, we got diamonds, and he tells me they got like this what was it? 5 for 80 on these grams of diamonds. And I was like, well, I was going to do 100. Can we just like step that up to 6? And then he's like, yeah, we'll step that up to 6. And then, you know what? We'll make the free gram also another. So I'll give you 7. And so I was just like, all right. So I got 7 grams of diamonds instead of 11 grams of house shatter.
For
Right?
$100?
For $100, yeah.
Okay. I got a pound of weed and half a pound of hash for $1,800.
Okay, I cannot afford to spend that much at once. I wish.
And Canada Post is the delivery service.
That is cool. Like you can legally send it through the mail.
I'm in Arkansas,
Exactly.
so even doing it through legal means, you can't get it near prices like that, even
Yeah.
remotely.
Yeah.
Well,
The
I live in
hash
Southern
was
California, so like, yeah, and I also, like I said, this is they come to me, and I'm also, as a disabled veteran, it's so convenient, and they've just treated me so well, and like this was a nice little like customer loyalty kind of feel good moment. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
sure.
Oh, I was just going to say that the hash cost me like $640, and the rest of it I spent on the weed. So I think the pound of weed was right around 11.
Man, the
No,
relationship I
Ollie,
have with my weed dealer is better than some relationship I have with some family members.
I've never met my weed dealer because he's on the other side of the country in British Columbia.
you want me to go say hi?
Well, he lives quite close to
Me?
you and Neil. So yeah,
Oh, no kidding, really?
yeah. The place I get it from is not. It's I I told Neil about it, and he said, "Geez, that place is just like a 10-minute drive for me." So
Yeah, I'm only 15 minutes from Neil, so the farthest it could be away is less than half an hour.
yeah.
Oh, that's
And,
hilarious.
and even though we
Yeah.
had a Canada Post strike last month that ended on the 18th of December, I ordered that weed on Thursday, and it was here on Tuesday. So Canada Post is caught back up. They're not behind anymore.
I will
Oh.
say I do get faster delivery than that, but not I'm not buying that much at a time.
Well,
So-
mine does have to like literally go from coast to coast. I'm in Prince Edward Island, Canada, on the East Coast. So
Yeah, and
What is
my
it?
guy, they have well, it's not a guarantee, but they they try to be 90 minutes or less. So like order to doorstep 90 minutes, give or take.
For those people who
Damn,
think
that's
that
crazy.
Canada is the size of California, how many is it over 5,000 miles between me and you, Ollie?
miles, I don't know.
Yeah.
What is it? It's
You're
like
speaking in the wrong language.
Yeah, I'll look.
it's a long way.
Kilometers. You have to do the
It's-
right one. You Americans.
Speaking fat
You
American, will
Americans
ya?
do math. How dare you?
Yeah, freedom units.
It's how many eagle screeches per per football field.
There you go.
We measured it out once. It's exactly 12 parsecs.
There you go.
So it's a 56-hour drive at 3,747 miles.
Oh, that's it. Oh, miles. Yeah, it's 5,000 something kilometers. Yeah. Makes sense.
It's 4413 kilometers. Actually, it says the road distance is 6195. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh right, that's not how the eagle screech flies. Yeah, that's why you measured it wrong.
Oh, and isn't there a ferry in there as well?
I'm doing. Is there a ferry someplace to get to Vancouver Island?
I'm not on the island.
Oh
Actually,
well, I
maybe
did.
there
I
next
did
week.
Vancouver to Charlottetown, and no, there wouldn't be a ferry. But I mean, that's not the farthest east you can go either, nor is it the farthest west. So, well, like if you were to go to the tip of Newfoundland, I'm sure it's way over 5,000 kilometers.
Oh, yeah. It's a heck of a cool drive.
Well, I'm going to do a third of it again this summer. I'm going to Baja Con again.
Yeah.
I strongly urge you to try and make it, Dave.
Where's it at?
It's in Sarnia, Ontario, right on the border between.
Sarnia.
Yeah.
That's not Baja.
Baja Con stands for Blue Water Atheist, Humanist, and Agnostic.
Okay, that makes more sense
Convention.
then.
Oh, you were thinking Baja, California.
I
Baja
was
without the
thinking
J.
Baja Con, like dune buggies and shit
No.
down in the freaking
Yeah.
yeah,
Star-
like
Catching
that's what I
waves.
thought Baja Con was gonna be.
Sarnia is located very close to two of the Great Lakes, so that's why it's the blue water part of it, right? So
Roger.
The only drive
I
have planned
I
for
brained
this
way
year.
differently on that.
Do any of you live near Moab in Utah?
I do.
No.
I'm about
That's
an hour and a half from there.
Yeah, that's my buddy is he's in a couple of four-wheel drive clubs, and he works for four-wheel drive, like a company that does improvements and conversions and winches and all that stuff. Out here, it's actually like the biggest one in British Columbia, and he's arranging a trip with some guys to go down to Moab, but I don't have a co-driver, and it's like a 10.5 hour drive down there, and then a 16-hour drive in Moab, like off-roading, and then a 10.5 hour drive home. I don't want to do 24 hours or 30 hours of driving in 2 days. So without a co-driver who can drive responsibly in a 6-speed manual, I ain't doing that.
well, I like if you weren't on the other coast, I could say yes to doing that. That'd be fun.
My dad and I
Right.
built rock crawlers growing up, and we used to go do those trails out in Moab, and that's just like unlocked some memories for me.
Oh yeah.
This summer, I drove to Ontario to pick Neil up at the airport in London, and then the
Right.
two of us went to the convention. Right, so it was a 22 hour, 22 and a half hour drive for me to get there. Just
Was
to
it
pick
in
up Neil.
Sarnia then too as well? Is that the deal? It's at
Yeah,
the same location?
Yeah, it is. It's held at the same hotel every year too. So they've done 3 years now. So it's going to
Hey,
be the fourth
Kelly's
year
in
coming up.
the audience. I saw the
Yeah,
show.
he just popped in a minute ago.
Oh, right now.
Is Kelly going to come up on stage? He might.
I don't know. It was a pretty weird show.
Not gonna lie, I fell asleep halfway through, but I needed the rest.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was definitely a weird show.
Yeah.
What show?
Oh,
What?
your truth wanted. I didn't.
How's the
see it.
mango?
Wanted.
Oh, yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
see it. Sorry.
Truth Wanted on the ACA network.
I got home about halfway through it, but what I watched was like a little bit frustrating. But you know, it would have been great to be able to deal with some of those topics a little better. But the person you were dealing with, for the most part, was being obstinate. I want to say.
Yeah.
Legitimately,
Hey,
I got to be honest. I've been finding all of those shows are bumping into that problem lately, where it's just like stupid callers calling in that just want to argue a point, no matter how wrong the point is. It's like it's just repeating the same crap over and over and over again.
Hey,
Yeah,
Kelly,
Yeah.
I missed the show live because I was working, but can you catch me up on the context? What were the issues with the calls tonight? What were the
The one that I
Yeah.
found frustrating was he called up to give some ontological proof for the existence of God. That was what the call screener said. So already we're off on the wrong foot because there is no ontological proof of God, right?
right?
And and then he said that everything is informative. Everything that exists is informative. And I said, no, information only exists when there's somebody there to perceive the information. Right? And he
What was the
didn't
caller's name?
traditionalist Catholic.
Oh yeah.
Or Catholic
Okay.
Fucking
traditionalist,
TC is a
something like
jerk.
that. And he
Okay,
just
because I heard a similar argument on the line a few days ago, but that wasn't the name.
he just couldn't separate the idea that that the thing and the information that thing conveys are two separate things, right? He just couldn't understand that concept. So he kept telling me that I was the one that didn't understand. So he would explain the same concept again, just using different things. You know, I'm gonna give you the same explanation, but I'm gonna use a different noun.
Which
Right?
which might be an effective tool if you were talking to somebody who didn't understand and you were trying to reframe it, but you did understand what he was saying, just not
but I
the
wasn't agreeing
connections that
with
he
it.
was making. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was rejecting it. I was
Okay.
rejecting it, and that's and
Yeah.
then and this is something I get from theists a lot. Is they'll get this idea because you don't agree with them, you obviously don't understand it. Because if you understood it, you would totally agree with them.
Right. Yeah,
right?
I've had that one. Yeah.
I get that a lot, and I find that really frustrating, especially when you get somebody like this caller tonight who explained the same thing 3 times over, and all 3 times I tried to tell him he didn't need to explain it. I understood, but he insisted, and then he was getting rude about it. You know, that he had to finish
Yeah.
what he was saying because I obviously didn't get it. So
It was a flowchart argument, and the person was trying to go step by step, and it was the flowchart agreement. Like, can we agree on this, and can we agree on that, and can we agree on this, and move through their flowchart. And they just, there was no discussion, there was no nuance to it. It was just, this person was like, well, if you'd let me finish, and you're being rude, and you're cutting me off, and it got into that whole.
yeah,
at the
right. You
end.
started getting into the meta thing, and he was audibly turning pages throughout the conversation. He was definitely working off a script.
That
so.
bad of a script. Oh wow. Okay.
I
Like
mean-
sometimes you have those callers where it seems scripted, but not like you actually hit him turning the pages. That's great.
I feel like these scripted calls, you got to take it slow too, because a lot of times there's a lot of it like equivocation that goes on with the language when you're just bouncing from question. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that?
Hey, can we all agree that it's entirely possible that the moon is just made of soup? Like it's possible. We don't know for sure.
Sure,
If
you
we
would
said
say
cheese,
I mean, soup is just like a collection of a bunch of different particles, right?
Yeah, and this particular soup is just really, really dense. It's fairly chunky.
It's more like a stew.
I would argue it's a sandwich.
no, it's a lasagna. Get it right.
It's a sandwich. Yes, it's a sandwich. The National Hot Dog Association has entered the chat.
I lit a whole room up the other day talking about the sandwich argument, and I had half of the room agreeing with me and half just diametrically opposed. And at one point, I was just quiet for about 5 minutes, letting them eat themselves. It was great.
Sometimes you're evil, Dave.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I am gonna have to get used to somebody else in the room actively being called Dave. I keep wanting to respond, but I know I go by Sapper here. But I go by Dave literally everywhere else that I'm not online.
I get called many, many things. Some of those things are Dave.
Yes.
I feel bad for some of those people that they're dug in so deep and they have what really amounts to a poor argument. I get to the point with people a lot lately where I try to cut it off before I get too frustrated, and I say, if your argument is that this is not impossible, I'll concede that now. I don't care if it's not impossible. I can name a billion things that are not impossible and they don't impact my life at all, and I don't care about any of them. And some people get really kind of pissy with me over that, but that's the truth, and that's kind of the heart of the argument. If that's the best you have, and then they say, well, I have other things, I have other stuff. Well, bring the best stuff first. That's kind of my...
Yeah.
If I ever did a show, that would be one of the taglines on it. Bring me your best stuff first. I don't want to talk for 20 minutes and find out you've got better evidence somewhere else.
What do you guys use on physicalism? Like, do you think that there's more to the
processes, if that's what you mean? But you still require
I don't
brain
think that's
to have a
true.
mind. But I can cite some neurobiologists who can tell you this way better than me. But But
I don't see
yeah,
what the empirical.
consciousness in the mind is an emergent property of physical processes in the brain.
I mean, I'm skeptical that's true.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
I tend to think that like the experience of consciousness, like this hard problem, is this huge bridge to gap. But I don't see any reason inductively to think that there's anything going on beyond the natural, even if it seems like super esoteric, how we go from matter to consciousness. Um, I'm willing to shift my position, but I haven't seen any reason to.
I mean, there are many arguments. There's knowledge arguments. There's David Chalmers' conceptual arguments. I mean, there's a
Just
whole
where I'm at right
literature
now
on
is like
arguments.
me is software running on hardware
There's
until
a
I
lot
see
of
reason to
interest.
think otherwise.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting theoretical arguments, but there's a giant lack of demonstrable, repeatable evidence that would be significant to the conversation in any way. I get into this argument every now and then with people, and it along with the previous disclosure, they get into that. Well, what about a brain in a vat? And I usually lead into these conversations by asking questions using the terminology in the reality of the world that we all experience and share. When they say, well, what if we're running software on a computer program? What if we're a brain in a vat? What if we're something else? What if there is something else? What if there's something spiritual or soulful or whatever? I don't care. This is the reality we have. We all experience and share. That's what my question's related to.
I mean, what's your like general thoughts on the arguments? Like, what do you think about the best? Maybe I'll just talk about one for now. Although I think these arguments work best in tandem. But like, what's your view on like simple argument, like Mary's room or something?
I'm not familiar with that. Kelly, do you?
No.
Well, it's basically the idea. Okay, so there's a brilliant neurosurgeon called Mary, and she knows all of the physical facts about what it's like to see color. And she knows all of the physical facts about, let's just say, the color green, right? She knows all of the physical facts about the color green and about objects that are green and about the mental states of a person when they see the color green. So she knows every single physical fact about what happens when someone sees the color green. But she has never seen the color green ever because she's in a black and white room. She never sees the color green. Yet she knows
She knows
all
the
of the
mental
physical
states of
facts.
someone that's seen green, then she's fine. She can understand green.
Well, that's what you might think if you're a physicalist, but then she steps out of the room and she sees the color green for the very first time and she learns something new. She's like, oh, that's what it's like to see green. And she learned something new, and I think that's rather intuitive. But of course, she learned all of the physical facts about what happens to the brain when someone sees the color green, right? But of course, if the physical facts are all there is to know, there's no new knowledge to be gained. But of course, when she does exit the room, she does learn something. She learns what it's like to experience green.
There's no
But
reason to grant that as experiencing and learning something, though.
So I think you could sum that up easier just by saying the map isn't the territory.
I'm still
sorry,
hung up
but
on how experiencing green for herself is like a novel experience compared to knowing the mental state of someone else who's experiencing green.
sorry, but
I guess if you said before that she knows the mental states of other people that have experienced green, and so I'm
she
hung up
knows
on
the
how.
physical. She knows the physical states of the brain. She knows
Oh,
every
okay,
single physical
okay. I
fact
thought
about
you said okay.
the
I
brain.
misunderstood you. Sorry.
But if the mental states are the
Oh, okay.
physical
Okay.
states, right? The
I thought you
physical
said
states of the
okay.
brain
I
are just the
misunderstood.
mental facts. Then you might want to say that she knows the mental facts because the mental facts are the physical facts. But of course, she can't. That can't be true because she learns something new when she steps outside. She learns what it is like to see the color red or to see the color green. So if there has to be some knowledge that's not physical, right? There has to be something non-physical that she's learned.
Experiential, I guess. I understand. Yeah, that there's a difference between knowing and experiencing something. I'm curious as to why you came to the using color, and I thought I saw where you were going, but there was a flaw in that. Like, color is something that we can identify and measure that has nothing to do. It's a wavelength of light, right? Green is a specific wavelength of light, and it's something that we can measure without experiencing what you can have a colorblind person still measuring green without being able to see the color because
Yeah, and
there
they
are
still can never
other
experience green.
measurements there. Yeah, they will never experience green, but they can still be, if they're a physicist, understand that it is a wavelength of light that can still be
I'm not denying
measured.
that.
And
Yeah,
so
I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is there's something being left out of these physical descriptions, right? What
the
happens
experience.
with exactly, right? That's what's being left out. And all of these physical descriptions and stuff, they don't actually capture what it is like to see green, what it is like to be in pain or be in
Sure, but
love
that would
or fall
because
out of love. Like you can't capture those things in physical descriptions. You can't ever know what it is like to experience those things.
That's
Um,
exactly
that
what
would
I
be
meant by
because
that's exactly
oh,
what I
sorry.
meant when I said the map is not the territory.
It's a model, right?
okay, I don't know.
You can look at a map, right? But it's not the territory. You don't experience the place until you've been there. That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. I'm taking the same concept that Bellup's saying, but I'm just putting into one simple sentence. The map is not the territory.
I
I would
understand.
agree with that.
I understand the map and territory fallacy. I don't see how it's relevant in this case.
No,
Well, you
it's
have to
not.
use
It's not a
language to
fallacy. He was
communicate
trying
to
to
somebody.
steelman you.
First off, it's not a fallacy. I don't know why you bring it up as a fallacy. The idea
You're
is
saying I'm committing some problem.
no, I'm not. What I'm saying is that you could take what you were saying and boiling it down to one sentence. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I'm just making it simpler. Instead of like 16 paragraphs, I'm making it one sentence. The map is not the territory. You don't experience a thing by looking at a description of it. You have to experience the thing.
I jump
I
in
would
here.
agree with that.
Great, but
The
that's
other
not
argument
really.
that, and this might be
Mathematics.
easier to digest mentally, but the other argument I hear about that's in this vein that I've bumped into a couple of times is people say, if you read the service manual for a 747, you know exactly every piece of the 747, you know what it does, how it works, how everything connects to everything else. It doesn't make you a pilot.
Yeah,
Or even a mechanic.
That's kind of
I wouldn't even extend that to pilot. I would just say mechanic. That doesn't make you a mechanic.
Yeah, that's kind of the point, right? The point of the argument is to saying these physical descriptions miss out consciousness, right? So, like, I mean, this is why I think Daniel Dennett and sort of some of these physicalists just miss the point entirely. Is that when these sort of descriptions of the brain or descriptions of brain states or something are given as explanations for consciousness, they're compatible with there being like no consciousness whatsoever. They're missing something.
May I?
Yeah.
So I still feel like this circles back around to my first point, where consciousness, experience, all of these things are ideas. Anything that's going on in our heads is an emergent property of physical processes that we can and have measured.
Well, even if they're a product of physical processes, which again, I'm not entirely convinced that's true, that doesn't mean it's all physical. I'm not sure how it can be.
No, I didn't
What
say it
else
was
would it
physical.
be?
I said it's an emergent property of physical processes.
But consciousness is not physical.
No, it's an emergent property of physical processes.
So you'd be like a dualist or something.
No, I'm just saying brain does things, physical things that we can measure, that we can observe, that we can test. And we experience things as a result of those things that our brain is doing.
So you think there's something that's not physical, but that
No,
sort of
that's just what
arises?
emergence is you can, like, a collection of parts can have a property that the parts themselves don't have.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. Like
All the
water
parts
is wet,
themselves are
but
physical, though.
Water is wet. Wetness is an emergent property of water, right?
yeah, okay, but what wetness is just some sort of like description of the
It's the way water molecules
sort of
stick
individual.
together. That's what wetness is.
Yeah, right. But there's nothing, or at least I think you can reasonably argue there's nothing non-physical about that. But I think that there's
Right.
But it's an example of what an
something.
emergent property is.
But oh, okay, that's fine. But I'm saying that I think the disanalogy there is because the disanalogy there is that I think wetness just is some sort of description of the way that particles interact.
Yeah.
I think
Whereas
that's what we're saying consciousness.
yeah,
or
but
at least that's what
yeah,
I'm
but
saying
it can't be.
consciousness is.
No, it can't be. And the reason it can't be is because you can at least logically have all of the same interactions and particles and everything like that, but there be no consciousness at all.
All right.
How
Tell me
do
what
you
a
know?
brain does with no sodium in it.
What?
Tell me what a brain does with no sodium in it.
What?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to
don't-
empirically distinguish living brains from non-living ones.
No, I'm not saying that.
No.
I'm saying that.
I'm saying without the sodium, neurotransmitters cannot fire. That is so there's an emergent property of adding
Who
sodium to
cares?
your brain that
What
causes
difference?
Who cares? Because it's an emergent property
It's
of these
completely
things coming
it's
together.
completely irrelevant.
It's not.
He's trying to explain emergent property better.
No, I understand
And
what an
how it
emergent
relates
property
directly
is.
to the brain.
My point is that in the water case, right, what the emergent property is just the description of the interactions of the particles. But your description of the interaction of the particles in the brain or the atoms in the brain or the sodium in the brain or whatever you want to call it, any physical description, right, is compatible with there being no consciousness at all. So you're not going to get to consciousness
neurons
from
firing.
purely a physical.
Neurons firing. We get to neurons firing. All of that leads up to
it
neurons
doesn't matter,
firing.
but it doesn't matter. But look, neurons firing is compatible with there being no consciousness. It's at least logically compatible.
That is true, but not
with-
knowing the entire list of everything doesn't mean that there's justification for believing something on the list is non-physical.
What?
Does that make sense? Like, not knowing
No.
the entire list of boxes that needs to be checked to say what makes a conscious brain doesn't mean that you can say that, oh, there's something non-physical on the list. Right.
I'm so confused.
If you define consciousness through functionalism, there has to be something for consciousness to rub against and navigate, or otherwise there is no reason to even assume there's consciousness.
But I'm lost. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't understand that last one either, so it's not just you.
No, I was just saying that, like, you know, you need to have action potentials for the neurons to fire. You need to have, there's a whole bunch of different things that need to happen for a conscious brain to be active. And like you said, these are also things that can happen while consciousness is apparently not present. But just because we don't know the entire inclusive list of things that needs to be happening for consciousness to be present doesn't mean that we can appeal to something non-physical.
I better
Well, look,
understand what you said now. Thank you.
You agree, though, that that it's logically possible for me not to experience anything, but every single physical fact about me, from the skin on my bottom of my feet to the hairs on my head, to be exactly identical. There's no change in the
Well, that's
physical.
not true. Every cell in your body is different than the cells that you started with.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying it's logically possible for there to be, let's say, a physical replica of me, exactly the same as me. Every single physical fact is exactly the same, but I experience nothing. There's no experience. When I talk to you, it's just like an answering machine. When I put my hand on a hot stove, I scream and yell and pull it away, but I don't experience any pain. There's no conscious experience.
I don't think I would agree that is possible. I have never seen anything demonstrate to me that would be possible.
Yeah, same here.
Well, there's no contradiction. There's no contradiction. That's what I mean by logic.
You said you would agree. The way you started, you would agree, and then you said what you said. And I'm saying I don't agree with that. I don't agree that is possible.
Yes, but then you're going to have to show the contradiction.
Contradiction is that it's theoretical.
What?
It's never been described and it's never happened. Right?
I just described it. Look, I'm saying, let's imagine another world where there's a physical copy of me. It's absolutely physically identical, right down to the neurons in my brain, to the fingers, and it does everything I do. Right? There's no difference whatsoever in the physical material, and the physical makeup of my body. But
may I respond to that?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay. You seem like a philosophical
I agree. I agree that we can both imagine that world. I do not agree that world is actually possible. It has not been demonstrated to me that a world where a clone of you turned into an answering machine can exist. That has not been demonstrated to me. I don't agree that's possible.
I'm not saying that it's gonna happen. I'm saying it's logically possible for pigs to fly, right? That doesn't mean it's like reasonable to believe that it's gonna happen. Or
logically plausible?
No, logically possible. Do you know what logically possible means?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds logically possible to me.
That pigs can fly.
Yeah, thank you.
I would need a lot more information.
Well, what you're positing sounds like what you're positing sounds like. I mean, I'm not in a position to prove that everyone except me isn't like that, right? But I have no reason to think that's the case.
I don't agree with the potential that it's possible. I believe I would take the position that it is not impossible, and we're back to that argument I spoke about.
Sure.
Earlier.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Not impossible is probably
not impossible is I can back up not impossible.
Okay,
so
great. So it's not impossible that there be a sort of another world. It doesn't entail any contradiction that there be another world that's physically identical to this one. I am physically exactly the same, but there's absolutely no consciousness. Absolutely no consciousness.
Then you're not physically exactly the same. That's what we're all saying.
Yeah.
When you say we're physically exactly
but that's
the same,
begging the question.
Experientially, you are both communicating the same information in and out, and you're saying.
Sorry, I just need to respond to someone in chat. Like, it's Bellop needs to talk to someone educated in brain stuff. I mean, I've read David Chalmers. I've read many papers on
all the
read
time
many
you want to
I
philosophical
was
respond,
actually
papers.
yeah.
thinking of somebody else. I was thinking of somebody else who is in these circles, and that was somebody already mentioned uh, Shannon and Paul Logia. Those two know their shit about this stuff way better than I could ever dream of. And I will even say some of the things that I've been trying to channel have been things I've learned from watching their shit. So I'm not the expert. I'm just I have heard enough information to at least doubt some of the things that you're sharing if I cannot properly explain them.
Wait, are you saying that Shannon Q and Paul Logia have like studied David Chalmers and
No, I'm
Daniel
saying they've
Dennett?
studied brains.
Yeah, but look, I mean, empirical science is like this argument I'm running is not an empirical argument, so it's compatible with
We
any
know.
single. Yeah, it's well, the empirical stuff is completely irrelevant, right?
Well, no, but it's the
Um,
empirical stuff that makes me doubt this non-empirical claim.
okay, but like, okay, so it makes you doubt it. So what? Like, okay, fine. I mean, the fact that like whatever,
I mean, that's the conversation we're having, right?
Not
I
for
am
I
much
don't
longer
care
this
about your
unconvinced.
time.
men.
Okay.
I mean, look. I mean, the fact that like this empirical stuff persuades you, it still has no actual like relevance on the conversation because um
Only
That's an
because of the way
interesting
it's
that you
take.
only because of the way that you posed the premise. But I'm sure that most of us would say, you know, we've already agreed. Your argument is not impossible when you apply it to the
no.
empirical evidence. Listen, when you apply it to the empirical evidence that we do have and the information that we have from experts in the field and what we know is demonstrably true in the reality of the world that we all experience and share, it falls apart to pretty much everyone here, I believe. That's what we're saying.
Look, I mean, I don't. It seems like you don't really understand what the argument's supposed to be, right? I'm saying that there's
This goes back to what I was saying earlier too.
Oh my
That
God, Kelly, please
because,
take it.
oh my
Oh
God,
wow.
just because we don't agree with you doesn't mean we don't understand the argument. We understand the argument. We are
okay.
rejecting.
What's the argument?
I actually, to tell you the truth, I haven't been listening. But these
You
other
haven't
people.
rendered the
Well, you
full
don't.
argument.
Okay, yeah.
You haven't rendered the full
Let me
argument.
finish. Let me
When
finish.
I said you
Let me
didn't understand the
finish.
argument.
Oh my
Let me finish.
God, I muted
Do
him.
not cut me off.
Yeah, I heard it.
What I was saying is these other people here have been following the argument, and I'm pretty damn sure they understand what you're saying, but they are rejecting it. Just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean they don't understand what you're saying. That's my point.
And don't just claim victory in the chat, dude. I was correct. That's not the way to have a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So who can actually render the argument?
I
haven't done it yet.
liked JT's rendering of the argument personally.
Who the fuck is JT? Look,
Which one was that?
Kelly.
Wow.
Kelly said that. Oh, I'm saying you don't really understand the argument, and
Nope. I'm done.
What I was saying is that just because somebody doesn't agree with you doesn't mean they don't understand you. That's what I was saying.
And nobody's running, Bella. We're just trying to have a pleasant conversation.
Yeah, I just muted him because
Um,
this is what he does.
uh,
He has a history.
JT, I did like JT's attempt to steel man Bellup's argument. If you care to, for Kelly.
Oh, okay. So
or
now
I,
I'm actually unmuted. Okay, so I don't know why I was muted, but look, the point.
All right, look, I'll explain it to you, and I'll use small words so you can follow it. You were talking over everybody, okay? I will mute you every time you try to talk over everybody. Let everybody talk. You're not the most important person here, I promise you.
I am.
Okay, so I'll try and finish my sentence before I get muted again and overtalked. But look, the point is that
I don't really
you
think I
saying, "Oh, just because we don't agree with you doesn't mean we don't understand the argument, right?" And I said, "Oh, okay, so render the argument." And Kelly, you sure as shit couldn't render the argument, right? So you have no idea what the argument is.
I haven't been
Now,
paying
and
attention.
I
because
asked, "Why are you overtalking me? Why are you overtalking me?" So,
Well, because-
and then
because you
I
mentioned
asked
my
someone
name.
else.
No,
Because you mentioned my name, that's why.
we're done.
And once you mention my name, I feel like I need to respond. You know, and the reason why I wasn't paying attention, because as I explained earlier, I think philosophy is shit. I don't think it does. I don't think it solves anything in my daily life, and I have no interest in a philosophical conversation. And I'm in my office right now, so I was doing some work while you guys were talking, and I was hoping maybe the conversation would steer away from philosophy and I would get more involved in it. So there you go.
Yep, agreed. Every time, honestly, had I realized who he was earlier, I wouldn't even let him in. I've dealt with him before. He's exhausting. As a matter of fact, bye, lols.
You know, it's like when we're on the morning show, the damn show, and you get those people firing up the conversation in chat, and you know, for every one thing they write, 7 people are going to write back, and you're like, well, it's good for the analytics.
So, speaking of changing the subject, I have an idea for a new show. One of the things that I decided to do in 2025 is redirect my platform, which has mostly been involved with gaming, to try and get more into some of these socio-political and whatnot things that are affecting real people in the real world. So I have a family member, Uncle Mike, who was a hardcore Trump supporter in 2016, and he and I almost had a really hard falling out as a result. But then he actually saw January 6th and was just like, okay, I had some things wrong, and started asking me questions, other shit. What did I get wrong? And we started watching lots of videos. He really loves Forrest Valkai. He's not like too big on the religious stuff, but really enjoys learning more about the biology and astronomy. He's huge into astronomy. And so the idea for the new show is talking with Uncle Mike, where we watch a video together, something educational along these lines, and then he's like, Dave, break it to me down to me like I'm 5. Like, he wants me to just like put it into terms that a blue collar guy like him, who is fairly old and set in his ways, can understand. And that's the show. It's just me trying to explain it to somebody who doesn't get this shit but wants to. Yeah, that's my pitch.
I want to do a new show too.
Yes. Oh, Kelly, what are you thinking of?
Chris and I are actually talking about me doing it on his network, so we'll see. I was actually gonna start it yesterday, but I decided to wait until. Yeah, Chris Mallard. But so I decided.
Sorry, I forgot where I was. For a second,
I was wondering if there was something in the works there, because he kind of teased that, but then he said, no, I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. And I I know you've
Mhm.
been around a little bit lately, and I thought, I wonder.
Yeah, what I wanted to do, my idea was, I really like the idea of interacting with the text chat. I think that's freaking awesome. I love that. So I wanted to do just like an hour in the afternoons, and kind of like break it up into 20-minute segments where we talk about different weird things. Like my first show, I wanted to talk about the Jabba, which is a giant spider that supposedly lives in the Congo, kind of like a cryptid. The Veil of Veronica, which is another version of the Shroud of Turin that disappeared in 1527, and it was the only one that was ever actually authenticated by a pope. We have paintings of it, so we know what it looked like, and so I wanted to talk about that. And there's another one, the Sudarium of Oviedo, which is another imprint of Jesus's face, supposedly of Jesus's face, from the time of the crucifixion. And so we have 3 copies of his face, and they're all 3 different faces. So I wanted to talk about
With
that.
different measurements from the eyes and the nose and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're complete. Like if you look at them, you go, "Oh yeah, those are 3 totally different people." You know.
Hey Kelly, are you familiar with Mini Minuteman?
Oh yeah, totally. I've been trying
Yeah,
to
he
get him
does a
on.
lot of that. He does a lot of that pseudo archaeology content.
I've been trying to get him on Truth Wanted, but I think he's too big for us.
Mm,
So
he
yeah, but I
he
love
did
that.
just hit 2 million, right? He just hit
Whoa.
2 million
Yeah,
subscribers. Yeah.
I think he's just too big for us. I've tried. I've reached out to him several times, and he's not gotten back to me once. So if anybody has an
Shit.
in
And
with
and
him,
I'm barely big enough for me. Like fuck.
so if anybody has an in with Milo, let me know. Also, if you have an in with Diane Morgan, let me know.
I could probably recommend a few drinks to him, but that's about as far as I can go. I do like how he does like the custom drinks on the episodes where like the drink is themed to the thing that he's debunking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to try the Baghdad Battery. That drink looks delicious. I don't have apricots on hand though.
I
Although we
had
know Kelly could just sub in some mangoes.
There you go. I had somebody tell me that he reminded them of a young me. Right. So that's how I ended up finding his channel, because somebody recommended it to me. And then when I watched it, I was enthralled with him. I was like, wow, this guy's really fucking good. But
I would
he
say
doesn't
like you have different energies.
he doesn't remind me of a young me. I had a lot different energy when I was younger. Believe me, I had a lot
But
more.
he does like visibly look like he could be a younger Ian, right?
Yeah,
The
right.
long hair and then got gray instead of red.
Yeah, right. And I think that's where where the person that recommended him to me was coming from. But I'm glad he was recommended to me, because I love his channel. I really do.
Oh yeah, he's a fiery guy.
Thoroughly recommend him to anybody.
I guess I think my favorite bit is just how what was it uh the like he just like did an expletive on camera because of the overt racism
Mm-hmm.
that one of the things that he was reviewing was suggesting, and he just like lost his shit, and you could hear his partner from the other room just like, are you okay? He's like,
Yeah,
it was so funny. Like she was checking on him because of how bad the racism pissed him off.
I almost lost it tonight, man. I'll tell you. That one
I'm
caller.
definitely gonna
On
have to
that.
go back and watch that. I missed it live. Your show tonight.
Even the crew said something to me afterwards that, and I was lucky the guest stepped in. He my guest was really awesome. Planet Peterson, is that his last name?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Really nice guy. Really glad I got to work with him tonight. Glad I
I
got.
thought you guys made a really good tandem,
Yeah.
and coming at it from different perspectives, and obviously you want to ask poignant questions and you want to guide the conversation in a way that's meaningful and interesting. I thought you guys did your best on it, but there was a fire burning in there for a little bit.
I'll give you the ego boost you deserve on this one, Kelly. Anytime I cannot catch something that you appear on live, I always go back and watch it later.
Oh, well, thanks, man. I appreciate
Every
it.
time. That is you are one of my favorite hosts on these shows.
Catch me on Chris's show last week?
I did.
Okay. Did you catch me on Sydney's show last week?
I did not.
Okay, you should go watch that because Sydney's awesome.
think I caught
I know
some
you're
of
in my
that, but-
DMs. Shoot me the link,
Here, yeah. Oh, you know what? Let me find out.
or share it with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I was just give me a second to find it, and I'll put it up for everybody. But
I'm
yeah, I
still
had
gonna
a
ask
really
the favor of the DM because you know me and my fucking PTSD brain. I, um, I need the extra note for those who are not aware. I when I was in Iraq, I drove over a bomb, and for lack of a better word, it rung the shit out of my bell. I do have a traumatic brain injury. I do have short-term memory issues.
the idea that
I try to minimize them as best I can, but sometimes I might even just completely forget a conversation I had. It happens. It's because I can't control what gets converted to long-term memory or not.
I'm old and that happens.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say the same thing. That started happening to me when I hit 60. Damn.
Yeah, well, it started happening to me when I hit fucking 25. So
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I haven't been feeling really good over the last couple of weeks. I had a
Oh yeah, seasonal flu.
No, I had a mild kidney failure on on Christmas Eve, and ever since then I've been having another
God.
problem. Like I am swollen from my stomach down to my toes.
Oh no.
So I'm not sure what's going on. I've been through a bunch of tests. We're still working it out. We're trying to figure it out. Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it, Rainbow.
Yeah, dude, just
Hey, I'm 60. I'm
every day
almost,
above ground, right? Every
yeah,
day
right.
above
I'm
ground.
almost 65, man. Seriously. And I didn't treat my body like a temple. I treated it like an amusement park. So
You and me fucking both, dude.
All right, I picked a bad time to walk away. I'm sorry, Kelly. What was going on?
no, I've had a few medical problems over the last couple of weeks. I had a mild kidney failure, and it might be what's causing my swelling right now. Might be my liver. Don't know yet. We're still working it out. So
Good luck. I hate that.
I'd
Yeah,
offer you a peace of mind, but it's probably not better.
yeah, that's cool. It's all good, man. It's all good.
A few years ago, we were having this conversation, and I told my friends, I said, yeah, I've kind of treated my body like an amusement park ride. And one of the guys looked at me and said, you've kind of treated your body like a jet-powered El Camino. I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong.
Nice.
How many dudes from Home Depot are in the back? Sorry, that was a horrible joke. Lord, I apologize. I can get away with it, right? Just do the Larry the Cable Guy when he says something racist, right? Just Lord, I apologize.
Lord, I apologize.
Just get away with it, right? Yeah, and then you're forgiven, right? That's how it works. You just accept Jesus to your heart, and then just he forgives you for all of the fucked up things you do.
Yeah.
That's what I always
yeah.
think is crazy about you don't follow Christ because you want to live in sin accusations. Is
Oh, damn.
they've got the worldview that allows them to do literally any fucking thing and then just ask for forgiveness.
Rainbow Love just gave me a horrible idea, and one I wish I'd started early on. We got to make flesh candled emojis for the server.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yes. Oh my God, yes.
Totally.
Oh, hell yes.
Well, there's my weekend shot. Thanks, Rainbow Love.
Well, Are you kidding me? You can just like the freaking Chris just dumped the images for me the other day.
Yeah.
All you need to do is have PNGs and just upload them. Like I think you have like a maximum of 50. I'm not even using that many in my server. I only have like maybe 20.
I'm exaggerating. I'll do it. I just need to. I'm lazy too, so.
I'm
Oh, well,
really-
there's that.
I'm really sorry. I have a feeling Bellop followed me over here. I feel really bad.
No, see,
Fine.
that's what I was trying to say. I didn't realize it was Lowell's. I've known him for years, and every conversation has gone exactly that way. Had I realized what it was, I would have headed off much sooner.
There you go.
I could tell we were just getting.
Problem with this group, and I know people talk about it all the time with Truth Wanted and The Line and the other the other shows that are picking up speed and doing really well, is you end up with that same group of people who has a whole bunch of sock accounts, and they're calling in under different names, and they're using a VPN, the problem is the watchers. After you hear the same argument from essentially the same voice 25 times, it becomes uninteresting. And that's something that I think all the shows are conscious of. But how do you overcome that? How do you get better, more honest? I mean, every now and then, on the weekend, I think it was the Atheist Experience, they had a couple of people call in who were really genuine, and they had great calls there. One of the guys who was in here, we were talking about something, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We came to the conclusion that neither of us had the answer to the question, to the proposal that he made. Like, we agreed in the end, we don't have the answer to that. I said, hey, that's a great place to end this conversation. I think we rounded it out pretty well there. But it's really hard to have those good conversations when you have that same pool of people who are kind of attacking those channels, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. One of the things that I think we're all familiar with John from Canada, right? John and I get along really well for some reason, and every time he's called, I've tried to steer him away from what he's called about and talk about something else. And I think that that's really helped. I've gotten him to talk about things that really affect our daily lives, right? I've talked to him about his life and how he interacts with the world, instead of him wanting to talk about right-wing politics or abortion, right? And I think that's part of what we need to do with people like that, is we need to show them that, we're humans too, just like they are, and we can become friends. So you build up a friendlier rapport, and then you can start talking about these ideas that you don't agree with each other about, right? And it makes the conversation a lot better, a lot nicer, and it makes it easier to have that conversation, I think, anyway. But it takes a while to work up to that point too. So
I've heard that tactic mentioned before, and I don't know if it's you who mentioned it or just that I've heard of that tactic being used to, steer unpleasant conversations towards something easier. It's something I'm gonna have to think about. I will say I am pretty proud of myself of how I handled it when I realized that conversation was going off the rails. I tried to just keep it like, hey, this is the conversation we're trying to have. But then when it got like literally like shit talking at Kelly, I was like, nope, that's a Modman fucking situation now.
I think with Bellop, he was there purposely trying to be a troll. I really believe that. But you get other people like John from Canada who really believes what the shit that he spouts. He really honestly believes it. And there's a difference between the two groups of people. One just wants it. One's here because they want attention, and the other one is really just letting people know what they think. And of course, obviously, he wants a little attention too, or else he wouldn't be calling into the shows. But at least, right. But at least he's sincere about what he's saying. And I don't think that somebody like Bellop is really sincere. So that I think that's the big difference, and that's why I think you gotta remember that he's a human being too. He's got the same wants and desires you do in the end.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you can communicate on that level, on a human
Well, maybe
level.
not the same, because I wanted and desired a conversation that didn't involve, well, some of the shit that involved at
But
the
you know
end.
what I mean, though. In the big scope of things, we all want to be comfortable, and we all
Yeah,
want, in the end,
for
we
sure.
all want the same basic things, So
But you
Yeah,
have to ask
and
the
and
question. Sorry,
oh,
when you
go
get
ahead.
into these conversations with people, you have to ask the question, and you hear it on the streams and the shows all the time. But do you care about what is true, and do you believe that there's more value in a comforting lie than actually knowing the truth? And there are people out there. There's lots of people out there who will answer that question. I'm 100% behind a comforting lie. I would rather not, if the truth is harmful, hurtful, or takes you out of your comfort zone or whatever it happens to be, astrology's my way. Comforting lie is my decision on that one. And if that's the case, you can have a conversation with that person. You're going to skim the surface of what's important, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, totally.
I think there's a fundamental flaw with these more difficult conversations where people like really almost violently disagree with one another is like with Bella, we're all operating on a different definition of consciousness than he's conceiving of in the first place.
It was always a definitional argument with him.
It always is.
Well, like I wasn't trying to spout bullshit earlier. What I meant was like, functionalism is the view that like everything is, we define things by what they do or their purpose or their function. My only point was without an environment to navigate, there literally is no consciousness.
Yeah, I agree. That was basically the conversation I had with the last caller tonight too. Was that because he was saying everything is informative, and I was like, no, nothing is informative on its own. It needs somebody to be informed for it to to convey information, to be informative. And he just couldn't understand what I was saying. He couldn't separate the information from the object.
I mean, I this may sound cliche, but think of a person like Helen Keller, blind and deaf, still able to navigate the world, still able to understand and learn things. It required some very specialized, special needs education and it took somebody who wanted to take the time to give it to her. But she never saw the color green. But she did learn Braille and learned to read and learned what the color green was. Learned to associate it with things of the color of trees. These are the things that and I'm not going to try and keep speaking for her, but Helen Keller did write a fucking book, so you can go out and read it. Like she learned to experience the world without having these particular senses. And that's why I kind of like hesitated when he was trying to go for the, okay, let's talk about the color green and what it's like to experience green. And like there's a lot of things that you can know and experience about the color green that have nothing to do with seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That was
But
where I was
until
going
you
with that.
But
until
again,
you
as
see
I said
it,
before, the map is not the territory. So
Seeing it is just one experience.
Yeah, and it's what he's trying to point out, like there's nothing profound about the experience of a color, just as like there's nothing that profound about the experience of being a bat or being a bacterium. They're gonna have different maps of the same fucking territory.
Yeah. And he obviously really couldn't get the hang of the whole emergent property thing.
yeah,
I
that's
thought that
kind of
was a layup for him, to be honest.
that's kind of baseline in their script, though, is to deny that, right? Like you hear that a lot if you're talking with the same group of people. regularly, or listening to them on the shows or whatever. You run into that a lot.
Yeah, there you hear the same arguments over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
Well, I had a conversation with somebody at work the other day, and it was it was kind of funny. They were a younger guy in his mid-20s, and we were talking about the Bible, and he looked at me and said, "You should read the Bible." I looked at him and I said, "You think I've never read the Bible? Like, is that a thing? Do you?" So then we started talking. It was all a whole conversation about what books should be banned in school. So there's a book up here that people are all fired up about, and there's a big thing going on. And I said, which specific part of that book is the part you don't like? If you could tear a page out of that, or 2 or 10, or whatever it is, what's the part that you don't think should be in the schools? And he said, well, I don't know. I haven't read it. And I was like, okay. And then I started quoting some things from the Bible. And he said, well, that's not in the Bible. I'm like, actually, it is.
Yeah.
You should look it up. Don't take my word for it. You should go in there. If you want some links, I can send them to you on your phone, but you should do. And he's like, nah, that's not in there. That's not in there. And I said, there's 2 books you should read now.
I've had Christians do just the opposite too, and tell me there's things in the Bible that aren't there. Like God only helps them. God only helps those that help themselves. I had 2 Christians. One really argued with me about it, that was in the Bible.
No kidding.
Like, no, actually, the original quote was the gods, plural, right? Because it was a Greek fable. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, and this same guy said to me at one point when we were talking about the Bible thing, he goes, I bet you don't even read Greek. Or I bet you, what did he say? I bet you don't even, he said, I bet you don't even read Greek. I said, you know that most of the Bible wasn't written in Greek first. It was translated into that, right? And there was just silence for a moment, and then he went on to another topic.
Yeah.
My most genuinely pissed me off as to the kind of human being I was talking to conversation was straight up somebody explaining why SA and genocide and slavery were okay, and then I called him a SA apologist, and he's like, I'm not apologizing for it. I was like,
oh yeah.
Like, I'm not apologizing for it. It's like, okay, you don't know what I mean when I say apologist, do you? But yeah, no, straight up advocating for why those things in the Bible were a good thing.
I say, okay, well, you're not an apologist. You're just offering a justification for it. And they go, yeah. And I'm like, that's what an apologist does. That's why I use that term.
Right. Yeah. I couldn't get that far.
Sometimes it's difficult, and you have to speak in. I always find that it's easier to take little chunks, right? If you break down the Lego bit by bit by bit, you're not going to pull the whole house down, but you'll expose some of the light to it, right? And that's why when we were talking earlier about people, and you get into a conversation with them, and they're going on the flow chart or the script or the precept or whatever, and they say something, and you can latch onto that, and you can say, that's a really interesting point that I'd like to dig into a little more. Are you okay with talking about that specific subject? Because I think our callers would be entertained by this, and everybody who's listening is probably curious about that. Can we dig into that and get their permission to do it and dig into it that way? Some of them that are stuck in the flow chart won't do that, or they'll say, okay, yeah, but let me finish my point. Let me explain. It'll only take 20 minutes.
I will say I have yet to dive into the realm of taking callers. I'm interested in potentially being on a call-in show. But so far, all of my encounters have been text-based conversations, debates. But actually in debate forums, or supposed to be. Sometimes the moderators are a little looser in some areas than they should be. But
you haven't done debates like on Discord or anything? There you
oh
go.
no.
So-
I mean, like I'm saying, no. I've done
I like the shirt.
like debates in voice channels and stuff like this. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm saying like I haven't done a call-in show. I haven't taken callers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's one thing I have not yet to do is to take a caller who is
It's
like,
not the
you know,
same.
it's I can already tell it's not the same.
Yeah, it's
I'll tell you who's my favorite lately that I just can't get enough of is Justin, Deconstruction Zone.
Hmm.
He is really
I have heard
good.
that one. I've heard that name.
He's good and he knows his shit.
Another person who I find really valuable entertainment-wise, who doesn't do it anymore, he used to be on Tang, but Just Jeff has a booming TikTok. If you're on TikTok, look up Just Jeff. He does call-ins, he does face-to-face interactions, he does interviews with people.
At least for the next
And,
9 days.
For me,
I do.
At least for the
I
next
want
9
to say
days,
this
they're
is
shutting down TikTok.
when
really?
when I
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah, I mean that's the big talk. The Supreme Court was weighing everything today, but it looks like they've been given to the 19th to either sell the company to a U.S. based entity or whatever. But
because of the ownership.
yeah, because the ownership's based out of China.
Yeah, it's because it's China.
I think there was some
That's-
court ruling that said
That's not going to affect us in
gotta
Canada.
sell to
China
a
owns
US
half of
company.
Canada already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be all kinds of
No.
of fallout and shuffling at the last minute. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, I'm glad I never really established myself on TikTok.
There are a lot of people right now who are scrambling to get their platforms moved over, or at least have a backup ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Justin has primarily been on TikTok. I need to look at his numbers. His numbers are good, but he's also got YouTube. He tries to stream on Facebook, but he has troubles there. I know some people tried to get a following up on Twitch. Unless you're a gamer, you just don't get much on Twitch. If you're not playing.
I'm also on Twitch. Twitch is where I started. I started on Twitch before I got to YouTube.
But here's the thing. I mean, if TikTok leaves, it's going to leave a very large void in that market. Somebody's going to pick it up. Somebody's going to come along and is going to do it just as well. Before TikTok, there was Vine. There's been dozens of types of it. It's just the ownership that people have a problem with this one.
Well, I think that's why YouTube built the YouTube Shorts
Yeah.
thing, is because they foresaw, not only was it a market that they wanted a piece of,
Mhm.
but they foresaw, like, when there's rumblings about, oh, we're going to take this company down, you step into that space.
Yep.
Now, there's what's the other? There's another platform that does shorts. There's
don't
not
forget
just YouTube.
Facebook Threads.
Meta.
Just
Facebook
Yeah,
Threads.
Facebook.
That's the one.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
Meta.
of. Yeah.
But Meta's been trying
Well,
for years to get some traction. They just can't do it.
I know.
I don't know what. I mean, I don't know much about that.
No, but they have enough money to keep trying
Yeah,
to
exactly.
play with the market as it changes.
No,
And
but
did
they
you hear
also know that Instagram's going to probably be one of the places where a lot of these TikTokers are gonna head to. You cannot tell me this isn't fucking coordinated for those people.
It seems like Instagram was already like ripe for that.
I hate
Yeah.
Instagram.
Oh, so
Never
do I.
been
But I
on
mean,
the
it's just I'm talking about like in terms of it's already the kind of the closest
Yeah.
sort of platform
It's
conceptually.
just such a clunky platform. That one, and what's the other one that I can't stand? I can never. Was it not Snapchat, but one I could never just seem to get the feel for. Whatever.
It's okay. There's all kinds of ones of those that have started up and gone away. The thing that I heard about this week that I thought was a little disturbing, and I don't know if it's going to affect their market share in any way at all, but Meta has decided that they are taking down the ability for someone to flag something as false information. You're no longer going to be able to click on a video and report it as false
So it's
information.
only going to be based on the internal fact checkers.
Right. Well, the community checkers or whatever the hell they're calling it. But
The one guy who lives in the basement with
Yeah.
the red swing line stapler. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. I'm gonna set the server on fire.
Hilton was his name.
Yes.
Yes,
no,
yes.
Stephen Root. Same actor that played William Dotrieve on King of the Hill.
Kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was Bill.
That's awesome.
He does a lot of voice acting.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he does a lot of character acting too. You've probably seen him in a whole bunch of stuff. You just don't realize it's him because he doesn't look anything like Milton, honestly.
No. If that's the only thing you'd seen him in, then yeah, you wouldn't necessarily recognize him in everything else.
Yes, right. Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites, I like H. John Benjamin, and one of my all-time favorites was the Archer Bob's Burgers crossover episode.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah,
that was my favorite.
Oh my god! So, a fun fact I'll admit, I actually I just find John Benjamin's voice so soothing to fall asleep to, and so I will literally throw on Archer. Is one of the shows I'll just throw on to just like his voice will just knock me the fuck out.
I had never seen him in real life until probably like the third or fourth season, and I went to look at some of these people, and everybody else fit. He does not fit.
Oh right, yeah, no, he does not look like his character like the other ones.
He's not what you picture at all. He looks a lot like Bob does, Bob Belcher, but not at all like what you hear when he does Sterling Archer. So
he had a 1 or 2 season live show, live action. It was called John Benjamin Has a Van.
No way.
Oh, I remember that.
I've never heard this.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah.
He drove his van around the country. It was just goofy stuff.
It was on Comedy Central, right? It was it was a Comedy Central show, yeah.
I believe it was on Comedy Central. Yeah, and it was only 1 or 2 seasons. It didn't last.
Which is very common for Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Especially shows that are like specifically made for a stand-up comedian.
I only have so many hours in the day, and I'm a Rick and Morty guy. I don't mind Bob's Burgers. I love Archer. Certain things I'll watch, and I set up my TV to record things that I want to watch. Some of them I never get around to. Most of them, I would say, majority of them, of the hours anyway, would be sports that I want to watch if I'm at work. Because I work at the dock. I'm a longshoreman, so I get called into work. I'm actually called back tomorrow too, so I got to work on a Saturday. Woo! At least I'm getting paid. But it makes it difficult to absorb that much television. I watch a sufficient amount, and I kind of draw the line. So I try to watch what I find quality. But you're exactly right. There are times when you want to shut your brain off and listen to something soothing that's a little bit funny and just pass out.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of comedians getting shows that need to be canceled, they just put Tim Allen on ABC again.
I saw that.
I saw it's literally the premise of like he's a car guy and he has a daughter issue.
Isn't he? Isn't he a cocaine smuggler?
Well, not anymore. No, yeah, but that was a huge thing. He did before he got into stand-up comedy. He actually did prison time for being a cocaine dealer, and then got into stand-up comedy, and then ABC offered him the show, and of course ABC is owned by Disney, and it got out that he was had done time, and it was a violation of Disney's typical
didn't know that.
contracts and whatever. And like there was huge pressure, and Disney decided, well, instead of firing him, they just basically locked him into a "we own you" contract. So that's why, like, everything Tim Allen, he doesn't put it anywhere else.
It wasn't just cocaine dealing. He wasn't just selling grams to his buddies, man. 1.43 pounds of cocaine at the Kalamazoo International Airport.
No,
Jesus
Fucking
fuck.
hefty.
Like I said, he was.
What year was this?
He was a cocaine
back in
smuggler.
the
80s.
back in the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like some
1978.
1985 shit. Yeah.
1978.
Yeah. No, I knew about all that.
78, you said?
I did not know about the
78.
Disney stuff. I didn't know that. No, they had a problem with that part because it was no secret that he was.
Well, no, well, it was something that like because they hired him, and then the
Found
public
out.
information kind of like the public zeitgeist latched on to, hold up, what's up? You guys hired a criminal? That's not Disney. And so Disney like scrambled. They decided to go on with the show anyway. But basically they locked him into a fucking slave contract, so to speak.
Disney's shown that they're okay now with being a little R-rated. Look at
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Look at
Disney
Deadpool.
had a totally different image back then.
Yeah, this is 90s Disney.
He was also arrested in 1998 for driving under the influence.
Yeah, I remember that.
I heard about that too. Yeah.
I mean, I watched him as a comedian long before he had the Home Improvement show, and I'd always enjoyed him. So
That's how
Yeah,
I was
you know,
born in '96, so I saw him on Home Improvement like Nick at Night growing up.
That's a
I-
thing I struggle with, is separating the art from the artist. You know, are we allowed to do that?
Yeah.
I
have difficulty
started
with that sometimes.
well, and that was also it was hard to separate the art from the artist with him, because if you were watching Last Man Standing during 2015, 2016, he had that show Last Man Standing, and during those years, holy shit, did things just go like crazy MAGA, anti-Hillary, pro-Trump. Like the art itself started becoming propaganda.
Yeah. Did you see the backlash against Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hooligan, as they're calling him now?
Yeah.
They
He was
did
getting booed.
Yeah, he went to like what,
booed
Los Angeles,
hard. Yeah, Inglewood, California.
Inglewood.
And they booed him for a solid minute through his entire speech. And then while he's being booed, and you can see he's kind of conceptually grabbing onto the, like, I've been a heel before, but this isn't the same, right? You could see the understanding in his eyes.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the Netflix commercial that they've got him lined up to do, and it was tragic to watch. It was bad. Oh.
Actually, I didn't feel like it was tragic. I rather enjoyed watching it.
Well,
I felt like he
Okay,
deserved
fair.
every fucking minute of that experience.
I was
agree.
just down in Florida, and there's a Hulk Hogan restaurant down there, and it was just barren, empty when I went by.
Oh, man.
I don't feel bad for these guys at all when they embrace their stupidity.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, he's being steered by the community of people he's involved with, and potentially there is some light at the end of the tunnel for him to see the error in his ways, and if he did change and have some communication with people and decide that maybe the world this way that people are telling me more on that side is probably a better way to live and a better way to communicate and a better way to solve our differences. If he came out like that, I think that if he was genuine about it, he could recover from the position he's in. There are people I don't think could do that. But I think because he was held in high esteem for so long, if he pulled his head out of his butt, as they say, there might be some redemption for him in the long run.
Here's my thing with that, especially when it comes to MAGA crowd in particular. Um, one by one, once they realize that Trump doesn't have their back, um, they defect and they come out and they say, things against him and whatnot. And I've seen this happening over and over and over again for the last 8 years. And no, I'm fucking done. I'm done with redemptions. I'm done with we didn't realize how bad he was after they leave him in the they leave that person in the dirt. Uh, no, because you've had 8 years to figure out how fucked up this is. If you're on board by now, you're on board because you want to be on board.
I, you know, I understand your perspective 100%. I have difficulty with it because world, the way that the world was in the 80s when I grew up, information didn't come out as fast, as in your face, and there wasn't a system to funnel you down a rabbit hole. And I think today we're living in a much, much different world. And I I don't know if I can be that
Okay,
unforgiving.
if I can bust your nostalgia bubble for a second, back in the 80s, Hulk Hogan was actively profiting from Vince McMahon's policies that were hurting so many people in that industry. But Hulk Hogan was on board because he was just such a fucking face for the industry that he was able to ride McMahon's shit. He's been doing this shit for a while.
Now hold on one moment, because you said something very important there, that he was riding McMahon to the top. And I think you could argue both ways that McMahon rode him to the top as well. So they were more
Sure, there was
partners
some
in
mutual
crime.
symbiosis there. They were both parasites of each other. I'll buy that.
Yes, I agree. They were partners in crime. Yeah, and there's no
Very
way to
much so.
overlook that. And that's been exposed on many of the interviews on those deals about what went on. As a Canadian, I don't know if everybody knew, but I am actually Canadian. Somewhere around here, there's a Canadian flag. Yeah, I still live 3,700 miles away from Ollie in Canada. Canada's a big place, but yeah, I enjoy getting the perspective of people who live south of the border and experience this from a very different. I mean, it's not in their backyard, it's in their living room. It's a different perspective of what's going on down there. So anytime I say anything like that and you want to feel free to enlighten me, feel free to enlighten me.
Well, and I don't want to come across as saying like you had bad ideas. I was just saying my mind were different.
I'm over 55. If you said that to me, I'd know what you meant and I wouldn't take it personally. It's fine. It's just fine. If it comes out in the heat of the moment, it's fine.
Canada is like in my backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to address the whole south of the border thing because I live in San Diego. I am literally 20 miles away from the other border.
I used to live in Encinitas.
I've been joking that we might have to restart the Rainbow Underground Railroad, and I'll probably be one of the last stops. We'll get you on a boat across the lake from here into Canada.
Well,
I guess I'm stop one.
Yeah, I don't want to. I've been joking about it, but I'm so afraid that it's like something that could really happen. That it's not a joke.
You know that Canada just changed the rules on who's allowed to apply for citizenship and who's allowed to apply for, what do they call it? Refugee status in Canada. They just changed, they cut it off, 80% of the rules that you used to be able to come to Canada. You can't even marry a Canadian and become a Canadian anymore.
Yeah, look at all the draft dodgers and went up there and lived illegally, though. I mean... You know what I mean? It's
There's
probably
a thing.
it only has to be. You only have to get away with it for a few years, hopefully.
You have the longest undefended border in the world.
Yeah,
And, I mean, it's only defended by geese, badgers, bears, raccoons.
Okay, to be fair, those geese will fuck you up.
fucking moose will fuck you up. Moose
Oh, yeah.
is the only thing I fear in the woods, to be honest with you.
If you've ever come,
one thing I do. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
A phrase we say up here: if you've ever come eye to eye with a moose, you were probably standing in a tree.
Yeah.
Oh
No shit.
man, yeah. I buy
No
that.
shit.
One
I
thing
went
I
to
like
Arkansas,
to
so
share.
if I saw a moose, I might actually think it was a spiritual event.
Whew. One thing I like to share with U.S. citizens, because there's a common saying you see on in the interwebs: if you don't like America, you're free to leave. And I like to remind people that the fee to file the expatriation form and immigrate from the United States costs $2,500 to file.
I shouldn't laugh. That is freaking funny.
If you
So
don't
we're
like
all just held
America, you're free to leave.
captives at ransom.
I'm not. No, I'm not. It costs $2,500, and that doesn't even include moving fees, moving costs, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not free to leave. Costs minimum $2,500 to get the fuck out of here.
And that brings us to the topic of sovereign citizens.
Oh my god!
Have you watched anything?
Yeah.
I'm addicted to those
There's
now.
a
I've been
fun
watching those on
segue.
YouTube all day long.
You gotta watch Van Balen.
Yep,
Oh my,
Van Balen.
Yeah.
Waiting for them to
Did
bring
you
out
get it?
Mr. Sparky.
I will say, sovereign citizens, they have a really, really bad argument, but at least they stick with the argument. I mean, like, oh man.
Okay.
They are
you
very,
guys have to
very.
look up- There's one of those. I don't know if it's his, but you need to look up the sovereign citizen from Chilliwack, British Columbia, from about a year or a year and a half ago, because the guy stands outside his car and looks at an RCMP and says to him, "I'm exercising my Second Amendment rights." And the cop looks at him and says, "Second Amendment of what?"
It's watching too many American soft sits on YouTube.
They towed his truck. For the second time. That was the second time they towed his
Oh
truck.
fuck! Anything they can do to get out of going to jail because they can't stop fucking driving mostly. Because that's what they get arrested for,
Who
is
knows?
driving shit, you know.
Who knows what kind of echo chamber that guy lives in to have gone that
I
far
know,
deep
right?
into the rabbit hole? Like, it's interesting. Mikey Famine and Neil had the after show for a long, long time, and it was epic. It would go on 3 or 4 hours. Well, I'm good friends. I used to give blood with Randolph Richardson and Neil. The three of us used to go together and give blood, but now Neil's on blood thinners and Randolph's been kind of out of the picture. So we haven't been kind of face to face for a while. So after the after show, we used to sit and talk with people when, Neil would cut it off after a couple of hours. And one night, Mikey was drinking, I was drinking, and there was a guy on there who was very QAnon. And I was like, the wide-eyed little kid, ooh, I want to dig into this. I want to see where this is coming from and where it's going and what we can figure out here and all this. And Mikey was just losing his mind with this. How can you believe that? What is wrong with you? You can't honest. And he was just, and I'm like, Mikey, let him finish the sentence. Let him get it out. But it turned out to be I thought it was a super interesting conversation. There was points in it that just got like scrambled in a mess, but we went down some interesting rabbit holes, and one of the things that he was pushing in 3 or 4 times during the conversation, I said, "Hey, I've never heard this. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Where did you hear this? Where are you getting this from? Can you give me some source information and whatever?" So we looked up what he was arguing. I can't remember the point of exactly what it was, but I remember it was very specific, and we could like Google it sort of thing and look it up. So he said it comes from here, and I said, okay, let's dig into there and see what their source material is. And their source material was another site. So we went there and we looked for their source material, and that was another site. And we went to that, and that was another site that had a writing from a guy. And that guy's source material was the original site that we looked at. There were 5 sites in a loop that all used each other as source material. And I said, so you understand now that there is no source material for this. Like, I insist that you spend the next week, if you find anything, you let us know. What you're claiming here is 100% false, and it's made up and carried in basically, 5 different stories that have no value in truth. They're linked to each other and using each other to prop each other up. And he was like, okay, I don't believe that anymore. I'm like, great. You have to do this 400 more times.
This conversation has been brought to you by our sponsor, Ground News.
Have you ever heard of the Gateway Pundit?
Sounds familiar.
Yep.
It's Jim Hoff. He was the dumbest man on the internet, but he was like the starter of a bunch of stuff like that for far right politics. Like, he would put something on his blog, and then somebody would quote him, and then somebody would quote that, then somebody would quote that, and the next thing you know, it's all real because all these people were quoting each other about it. But he just made some bullshit up,
Well,
Yeah.
I keep pushing
Literal
the lie
definition of an echo chamber.
Yeah. I keep pushing the lie on every chance I get on these streams and other streams and at work and at that party with the people who I was doing the everything is a sandwich thing. I always tell people that Canada is converting over to the metric calendar. It's 10 months, 100 days per month. And I know somebody looked at me and went, that's garbage. I'm voting against that. Like they believe me, right? There's somebody out there who's latching on to that. If you ever
just
see
gonna
that
freaking take it at face value.
There's a protest against the Canadian metric calendar. I started that.
Oh my god, that's great.
I watched a video of guys that had a petition to change the colors of the United States flag from red, white, and blue to blue, white, and red. And
oh god.
Seriously, I mean, they said that the majority of people were against it, but some of the people that they had in the video were just violently against it.
Yeah.
And it's just so stupid. I mean, it just goes to show. I always talk about the Carlin problem, that half the people are average intelligence, or average intelligence isn't that smart, and half the people are dumber than that. And unfortunately, the other half of us have to deal with them.
Yeah.
If you at Sovereign Citizen links, Scotty found it. That's the link to the guy in Chilliwack who had his truck towed twice.
Fucking A.
Yeah, I love the rabbit hole idea, and the whole thing about it is like, you're posed a question, and if you ever look at there's TV programs, there's like 9 programs on TV that have no content, but they're like, the William Shatner voice saying, you don't know what happened, but could it be aliens? Let's find out. Or, and there's no answer to the question. They just pose question after question after question. And all of a sudden, there's 90 people out there who are going to an alien convention. What?
Graham Hancock. Oh, that guy drives me nuts.
I see Lawrence is in the audience. Lawrence, if you want to come up, you can raise your hand.
I also see Idiot Test is in there.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever heard the voice, but I've seen the name a few times.
Well, let's see if he comes up here.
That was so funny. The first day Chris ran across that and couldn't figure out what it is.
Yep.
I saw that.
He failed the idiot test.
I was mentioning in chat earlier because the ID10T form is something that we would do to mess with new privates and shit in the Army. Tell them they had to go fill out their ID10T form to go to the S1 to request the ID10T form. uh, fucking with privates is a time honored army tradition.
I probably shouldn't tell you people this because it might lower your perspective of me. But when I was younger, and living the dream, um, we ran this restaurant, and I sent a girl down to the storeroom 3 times to grab ice mix. I'm like, "There's a box of ice mix. Just go grab the ice mix."
Oh yeah, no,
Looks like checker.
we had hundreds of those.
Or the left-handed scissors, or yeah.
Adjustable
Blinker fluid,
Oh yeah.
winter air for the tires, bucket of prop wash, keys to the
Yeah,
drop
yeah.
zone,
a whole
box of grid squares, Chemlight batteries, Pricky 5. That's a real fun one. Go find the Pricky. Go to Supply and ask for a Pricky 5.
Oh man. I used to work at a forklift shop, and the guy said, "I need you to go down to the auto shop down the street. I'm just gonna paint this forklift, and I need a smoothie. Go tell him you need a smoothie." And I'm like, "I'm not an idiot. You're not gonna get me on this one." Turns out that's actually a thing that painters use to prevent fisheye. It's called smoothie.
What's fisheye?
Oh, if you spray paint something and there's oil on it, it creates a little ring that's kind of the shape of a fisheye, and it spoils the paint. So you add this additive to it,
And it's
it
specifically
reduces.
associated with like oil coming to the surface.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I used to work offshore, and when we would look for leaks in a pipeline, the word that they would say when a droplet of oil came to the surface of the sea was you'd look for fish eyes. But it was specifically oil in the same way.
I mean, makes sense. Oil paint, oil pipe.
I just thought that was interesting because it was a very different context, but they still called
The
it
same
fish eye.
term.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Some scientist made it up.
I would be very curious to learn the etymology of that. Like to see if the term comes from the same thing.
I think it just they had a sheen.
Or could it be
At least
just
the ones I
like,
saw.
hey, these two separate industries both recognized a similar feature and ran with it.
We're all humans
One-
using a limited language.
Yeah. Or a guy who was familiar with the
Yes,
one term
one term.
went out on an oil rig one time and said, "Hey, you guys get fisheye out here too?"
You guys get it here.
Yeah, that's Top Tester wrote in there. That's the contamination from just the oil in your hand can spoil the paint. You got to
I
be so
buy that.
careful, and now with the high quality gloves that you use, and I mean, the last time I painted a car, I was using a dust mask, and I didn't have any gloves on or anything like that. I painted a Volkswagen Beetle, baby blue. Turned out perfect. It was great. But now, like, they have like the downdraft booths and the temperature controlled environment and the fogging guns and the very, very accurate scales to mix your paints on, and these gloves that prevent you like touching anything and contaminating the paint. It's a more complex system, but it creates a greater result with more frequency. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Far be it from me to judge an industry or anything like that when I don't know jack shit about it. Like, come on,
Fair enough.
I'm not the expert here. I'm just listening to you explain shit.
It sounds like Top Tester's more familiar with the stuff they're doing nowadays. But like I said, I like watching some of the stuff I watch is car shows. I love Mighty Car Mods, and I like Finnegan and Freiberger. some of the stuff. And Steve Dulcich, I mean, he might be my spirit animal. I don't know. Like, he gets into some of the paint stuff, and he's adopted a lot of the modern techniques. Like, he was one of those guys who would paint a dusty car back in the day just to cover it up and get it out on the road and let's get her driving, boys. And now he's gone through a few really nice cars, really nice early 70s Dodge Dart, and did everything, including like set up a booth and wiped everything down properly and done it. So I get the difference in the appeal in doing something right and coming out with something that people are, when people look at cars, they say, oh, it's good from far, but it's far from good. You don't want people saying that about a really nice car. Yeah. But yeah, I've done a few different things in my life, and right now I'm a longshoreman, and I do some data analytics on the side, which they just go hand in hand. So I work on ships. Today I was driving a dock truck. Yesterday I was doing project cargo. Not big stuff, just stuff for going to Windsor, Ontario, to some sort of major project exhaust system that we were importing for them. And went off the ship, through customs, onto the trucks, and down the highway. So a lot of my days are very different day to day.
Oh, I guarantee you my day is completely different. I'm on 100% disability from the VA, or the way I look at it, I get paid to be a stay-at-home single dad. Sure. That's my outlook anyway.
I don't have any children. I have nieces and nephews. Is anyone? I know we've had this problem before where people were talking and I couldn't hear them because I had the video on or something like that was choking it. So if I'm talking over anybody, please let me know.
No, I haven't noticed it, but I'm trying to figure out what Lawrence is saying. He can't get a live feed. Still no live feed from here. I'm not sure what you're looking for, Lawrence. Can you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yes,
All right.
yes, we can.
That's fine. At the bottom of the Discord, when I touch the camera icon, it says you can't stream into this channel. So
You may not have enough permissions to do that.
Is video streaming restricted
Okay.
to mods?
probably
It might
not
be.
not a problem. Not a problem.
I think it had to be approved the first time I came in 3 weeks ago or whatever it was. I think somebody clicked on it, and after I had started talking with you guys and stuff, it came up as an option.
Yeah.
But I didn't have my camera set up that day, so the next week I turned it on. Yeah.
You got
Gosh darn it! And I was really wanting my face to be right there on the forehead of the great whore.
We can see your face. It's just not moving.
No, problem is we don't want somebody dropping in here and showing us a dick pic right out of the box. And
Hey, I've been in my office.
I'm not a cat.
For quite a while now, so I'm gonna head out. But thanks for having me, guys.
Kelly, thanks. You're
Appreciate
always welcome to stop by and liven us up here.
Yeah, I'll try
Always
to
a
stop by
pleasure.
again next Friday. So appreciate it.
Looking forward to seeing you put some content together with Chris. That'll be really cool.
Yeah,
I think there's a
yeah.
couple of people out there who really compliment his channel and his personality, and you're definitely one of them.
Yeah, I you know what? There's a few there's like 3 people I met over the last 2 years that I thought I worked really well with, and Chris was one of the 3. So I'm really looking forward, doing something really fruitful in the future.
Right on. We'll be there.
Cool, awesome. Have a great night, guys. Thanks again for having me.
Good night, Kelly.
Oh, holy crap! We've been doing this for 2 hours.
It doesn't take long before you realize that time just slipped away from you. Especially we've had some great conversations going. So
I'm sure
I think
Ollie
so.
Man can attest to it, but there's been nights that we did the Neil's after party, and like I said, we'd shut it down after 2 or 3 hours on stream. We were still talking at 3:15 in the morning. It's just so easy to get going and little hangout. 5, 6 people, you get going, and
I'm just fine wasting time. I've got a semester that's about to start, and I know it's going to be brutal. So I'm trying to waste as much time as I can before that happens on Monday.
So
As long
this
as I
is
mute myself every time I'm blowing smoke from my from my bong, I found myself doing all right.
I caught
So
myself
this is
with the vape bag earlier with a hot mic.
this is an atheist channel, correct?
It is. Well, not really. Not right now. It is, but sure.
It's from the Daily Atheist morning show, at least.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, no problem. Because so is Joe Olstein. He just uses the name of Jesus to be one. That's all.
Okay.
You know, I had that conversation with my dad recently. I think, at least especially with some of the megachurch pastors, I think there's a higher proportion of them that like actually don't buy into it themselves.
Yeah,
But that's just a personal theory that I can't actually demonstrate.
Their
The Righteous
money
Gemstones. Anybody seen that show on HBO?
Show?
Which one?
The Righteous Gemstones.
Righteous Gemstones. Yes, I did see it. I love it.
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't. I don't
basically
have any
it's
major
basically a
streaming
parody of Joel Osteen megachurch, kind of like how they are not really that you know, into Jesus as they claim to be.
And Danny McBride is fucking hysterical on that show. Hey, Lawrence, you want to try your video?
yeah.
Try your video.
It's the
now?
Righteous Gemstones.
Yep.
The Righteous Gemstones.
I
Yeah.
think it's on.
Yeah, there's two seasons of it
I think
out.
it's on Max.
There we go.
Yeah, it's on Max HBO. Yeah.
My take on that, though, as far as the Joyce Meyers of the world and
It's
the
on my
others that are
favorite
out there
torrenting service as well.
evangelizing, I don't think it matters to them. They may have come from a religious background. Once they're involved in the business of church, they're involved in the business of church, and that is the key factor for them. I don't think the religiosity of their personal experience is much of an influence on their life from then forward. I think they get to a point where that fades off to the side, and they are a church business.
My knowledge of the Bible is like a severed head in a pit missing half its brains. So don't expect too many answers about it from me.
But you kind of posit, Dave, that it's like a dollars thing. When a church reaches the size that it's pulling in millions of dollars, it's like trivially easy to lose sight of, and just run it like a dollar making machine.
I don't think it's the dollars and cents of it as much as it's the fame and fortune of it. I think that plays more of a factor. Once you get to the point where, I mean, let's be honest. If you look at someone like Joyce Meyers, she lives on a $25 million compound. Her entire family lives on the compound. They have 24-hour security, and their board of directors, every single person on it is related. They are either a brother-in-law, sister-in-law, or nobody as far away as a cousin. Everybody on that board of directors is family. They are involved in the business completely and developed in the business in a way that no corporation at their dollar level would ever be permitted to operate at. But
you watch those fraud ministers. You watch which ones of them take the mark of the beast, the joining of the Church of Satan, the one world religion, the one world economy, the omnibar. You watch and see how many of those frauds.
I don't think that matters to them in the least. I think if they cared about anything, they'd follow the path of their religion. I don't think it matters anymore. I think it gets to the point where if somebody said to you, you're making 100 million or 150 million a year. If you burn a Bible on television, I'll guarantee you're going to make 300 million a year. I think they do it. I think they do it for the fame. They do it for the attention. They do it for the dollars. And I don't think religious influence one way or the other makes a difference to them. I don't think it comes across their mind more than once a day.
They will do it for $32,523 is how much it costs for Satan to buy somebody to join his church. $32,523.
Oh no, we established last time that number wouldn't work. So
yeah, well,
I mean that's the number that you come up with, but it doesn't make sense for a lot of people. Like obviously,
the funny thing about that money is that it's not free. You can't get it in cash.
Money is free.
You can't loan it to your friends or your family. You can't give your mom and dad $100 as a Christmas present. And every penny of it will be monitored by Islam computers, Islam bank computers.
That's
Yeah.
patently false. but that's okay.
I want to throw
If you
out
want to
that
jump in here,
we can. I want to throw out that we can always speculate on what we think other people think, but we can never know the minds of others. So when we say, "Oh, this person they don't think about Jesus more than this or that," you can't know that. That is just something that you can only speculate on, knowing the mind of another.
True. But if Satan speaks in your mind, Jesus can
Well, I
reveal
don't
to me
believe
what.
I don't believe Satan
And
exists.
they wouldn't
So-
have been. It wouldn't have been your thoughts. So no, I would never be able to know your thoughts.
Do you remember?
But
Do you remember when you asked if this was an atheist server? Nobody here believes Satan.
Yeah, I'm definitely not
Yeah.
convinced
Yeah.
that Satan speaks in anybody's
When-
minds.
he
when
did
someone
twice
says-
to everybody.
You keep saying that, but
I-
nobody here
I can
believes
tell
it.
you what he said. I can tell you what he said. He said, "I will turn and toss you
it's okay.
like a ball." And he said, "Don't tell the vision." And I can tell you
Who?
when.
Who said
Start
this?
with if Satan, okay? Before that
Lucifer.
whole sentence started with if
Allah.
Satan. If Satan. Why is there any really reason for demonstration, or why would anyone who is an outsider, who does not currently have a belief in Satan, what is the reason that you would give that would be proof that someone outside of that bubble believes in Satan?
Come on, the devil came down and painted words on
give
his
me
dick
Nope. Focus.
and stuck them in your
This-
head, and you're going, no problem.
Focus.
The devil did not. The devil,
Yes, he did.
again, Satan,
Lawrence, man,
if
dude.
Satan, start with if Satan. If Satan didn't exist, or if Satan did exist, how do we tell the difference? And what's the demonstrable, reliable, convincing, relevant proof that anyone who does not currently believe in any deity should believe in Satan, or if you want any other deity? But let's start with Satan.
He said on October 10, 2005, into everyone's heads, I
No,
will
he
turn
didn't.
and
He
toss
didn't
you.
say it to me.
Nope.
I didn't even finish what I was going to say. So how do you know what the fuck I was going to say?
Dave
you
is
little
part of the
fucking
set of
worshiper
everyone.
Satan?
I am part
You
of the
said
set
everyone.
of everyone, and Satan didn't speak to me ever.
Yes, he
much
did.
less than that.
He said, in your weak little perverted mind, I will turn and toss you violently like a ball.
Lawrence, you're gonna behave or you're gonna be gone. Those are your choices.
So what? I shut your souls to the comforter, you little fucking frauds.
Wow.
Wow, we're glad.
I did.
We're glad to have you
Shut
here,
me
Larry.
off your little TV show.
Hey, Larry, we're glad to
For stopping
we're glad
by.
to watch you, and we want to see you rant at your camera and be a whack job. You're doing a great job for your cause. Thanks for stopping by.
Could have
Hey,
done much better.
Yeah, same to you, Larry. You're an awesome guy.
yeah, that was
What is
Wow.
happening right now?
that got whoo,
Yeah.
that got hot as hell.
That's too bad.
Sorry.
I really kind of wish that some of these conversations went on a little longer without them exploding like that.
Well,
Yeah.
and
I'm
last
sorry I
time,
jumped in at the front end
No,
of that,
no,
but
no,
we
you
had
were
this
fine.
exact conversation the last time he was on, and he will go on with 30 assertions in a row if you let him. But this whole thing about Satan is and Satan spoke to you, it's like, okay, let's break this down. Let's figure this out. Should I be worried about this? Give me a reason.
so last time he was here, he actually was fairly cordial. I mean, he wasn't that rude. He just went straight to rude on that part. So yeah, I'm not sure that.
Yeah. Well, it is time for some more banana OG. That is my response to Lawrence's bananas rant.
It was bizarre.
I think that there we go. That's my new.
Cheers.
that
I'll
should
cheers
be
you
my
on
new. That should be my new. Yeah, every time a theist comes in here and goes on a bananas rant, I do a freaking banana OG dab.
Yeah.
Everybody can hear me at this point, and
We hear you,
granting him
but you're really
a
muted.
sense of
You're a little fuzzy.
yeah.
Sounds like Coast to Coast from 2006.
Can you try not sitting on your phone?
Now I'm using earbuds, and that's probably why.
Yeah,
But I can't hear you guys without the earbuds. So
no worries. We got
I
you.
wanted to grant the existence of God and Satan, and then ask him how the hell he would ever know the difference and who the fuck was talking to him inside his head.
We were going to get there. We've had that
Yeah.
conversation before.
That's
And
why
he
I
doesn't
kind of was
have-
so frustrated that it exploded so quickly.
Yeah, he doesn't have a reason, a justification for it. He just repeats what was said to him when and how and the consequences of it that he's interpreting from whatever experience he may or may not have had. He also, I don't know if you remember Scotty or who else, I think Cowboyist was here as well. And they started telling a story, and then they embellished the story and embellished the story further and embellished the story further. And I stopped them and I said, you understand that this is a known problem with the way that people remember things and the way that people tell stories and how stories change over time, even within the same person telling the story. A person who tells the same story once a week, every week for their entire life, will be telling a much, much different story in 50 years than they were in the beginning, right? And he actually agreed with me on that. And I said, thank you. I appreciate your honesty. Like, we actually got to that point last time. So,
And I was also going to suggest that we can use a person's action as a tool for discernment. We can't know what they think, obviously, but you can make a pretty good assumption as to what somebody's intent is based on what they're doing.
I mean, there's literally a whole part of court trying to prove intent is difficult. One of the harder things one of the hardest things to prove in court, in fact, is intent.
Yeah.
And yet it's one of the categories that you need to establish for first degree murder. So if you can't prove intent, you can't get a first degree conviction.
it's also why Donald Trump was never charged. Not crown. What do they call it? Not the Crown Counsel. The people who were prosecuting him. They said if his defense was he's too stupid to have known what he was doing, that's a legitimate defense that they could not overcome.
And yet we could still elect him. So what does that say about us?
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't too stupid to know what you're doing in that case equal incompetent for office at the same time?
I would think.
Yeah,
right?
No, I mean, like, if you want to roll with that defense, go ahead, get yourself declared mentally incompetent. I would have been on board with that shit. You know, if you're gonna run with that defense, let's run it through its course.
You know, the thing
about
Trump and support him is what makes some people think that he has their interest at heart at all.
It's not so much that, but he definitely hates the same people they do.
Yeah,
and for those people, for that matter,
the gays and the foreigners.
Don't think. I think they have an alignment of ideals. I don't think that they believe he's ever going to act in their best interest. I think they're surprised when he doesn't, and I think they vote for him and support him. Again, I'm a Canadian. I'm looking at this from the outside. I think they vote for him and support him because they align with the ideals that he is bringing to the forefront. I think they are I don't want to say delusional, but they're just not thinking far enough ahead to say, what is this guy going to do when he gets into office, and how are all these rich people who have influence over him going to affect that, and what is the $440 million that he owes Russia going to look like once he's president, right? They don't look at that. And a lot of people, you tell them like about his debts and his problems and the difficulties he's had in the past and the people he's kind of on the hook with, and they're like, oh, I don't believe that. Because they believe the echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
I think a problem that I saw with like close family of mine, and I come from a fundamentalist family, but there was a lot of people in my family that, I was talking to them a lot throughout the election, and I would share things with them, but I was trying not to push it too hard or like, hurt relationships or anything. But I found a lot of my family was just they didn't look that closely into anything. They saw the surface level. This guy's a Republican. He's gonna be there for my Christian conservative values, and it was like that was it. And I talk to some of them now, and I share them some of the things that are in headlines now, and they acknowledge to me, yeah, this sounds like crazy talk, and they act surprised, but it's like, hey, this is the stuff I've been telling you. And so I think at least I see a lot of people in my lives that voted that way were just completely kind of disengaged with the politics, and so they just assumed that because he was Trump, he was going to do the things that were in their interest, and now they're surprised by things.
I try hard to stay away from voting for a person or a party, and kind of try to go with whatever supports the value system that I hold as much as possible. Whatever.
Sure. I just mean to say, I think there's like some statistically significant proportion of his base that just like really just kind of went with the flow and wasn't paying attention at all.
Sure. But I think both parties could say that about both parties. In
the
US
yeah.
And the parties here as well. Yeah.
Sure. But I think that's where like when you have one side running like a really populist movement and another side that's doing everything they can to like alienate populist ideas, you're gonna see this kind of election that we just saw.
There's a guy in Canada.
What I can say. Oh, you go ahead.
There's a guy in Canada right now running for office, and I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Prime Minister of Canada stepped down last week. And a lot of people have been pushing and pushing and pushing. A lot of people from the right wing, and the right wing is building in Canada in stronger and stronger numbers every year. Again, at work, I'm in one of these street epistemology conversations with somebody about Canadian politics. And, I said, well, you want Trudeau to step down? Like, yeah, absolutely want Trudeau to step down. I said, okay. What's the solution? Who do you want to replace him? Who's the guy? Is it liberal? Is it conservative? What is it? Where do we go from here? He steps down. What's step 2? They're like, well, I don't know. They're all terrible. Like, okay, so they're all terrible. They're equally terrible or less equally terrible? Like, well, I haven't really dug into everybody, but I know what Trudeau did. Like, okay, he did things because he was prime minister. The other guys haven't done things because they've never been prime minister. So where do we go? What's the option? What's the answer? What's the solution? Well, I don't know. And I think we're being contaminated by the influence of, like I said, the way that information comes, how fast it comes, the echo chamber, the way it funnels us into rabbit holes, all that stuff. And people are jumping on the bandwagon of, we all get to hate him because he's the prime minister and he controls everything. He's responsible for everything. And we're never getting to step 2.
That's a really scary place to be, because I remember when, at least last time when Trump was running around, like the really big appeal for him was that he was an outsider. He was not one of these establishment politicians. He was going to shake things up. Do you remember the slogan was he was going to drain the swamp, right? And now, if anything, he's filled it full of billionaires, and you know what I mean? He's done the exact opposite.
I say all the time, he turned the swamp into a cesspool.
But it was that idea. It was that people latched onto that idea that he was an outsider. He was not a politician, and that's what I think is kind of scary about these sort of vacuums where everyone's tired of, just different establishments. I don't know much about this party that's running in opposition in the upcoming Canadian elections.
Yeah, the guy who's running, who's probably going to win, I'll put it that way.
That's what I've been made to understand.
He's very right wing, and he is all about Jordan Peterson.
Gross.
We are heading very, like, diving off the third high platform into the pool of that is where we're going to end up.
Can't even figure out whether he's atheist or theistic or whatever he believes or knows.
Sorry, I missed the first part of that. Were you talking about Trump?
Well, him too, probably, but Jordan Peterson, that guy.
Oh,
is confused.
He won't answer the question in a way that he won't answer the question ever as directly as he's asked.
I don't think he can.
I love it when people ask him, so are you theist or atheist? And he goes, well, in his Kermit the Frog voice, well,
Yeah.
In the quantum, when we're all talking about whether we're theist or atheist, we are God.
We're talking about, meta narratives that underlie our culture at a fundamental level. And they inform our very being.
He says a lot of words he doesn't
yeah,
have to say.
it's all about the meta narrative with him. It's
coming back to what I was going to say earlier. I unfortunately live in an area where even before the election, there's some pretty heavy anti-LGBT stuff going on. That and I am parent of a trans child. So and then after the election, it's gotten worse. The bigots are stepping it up. It's genuinely scary for those who are the targets of this.
I don't mean to freak anybody out on here, but I think it's important that you guys understand that this isn't a problem that's unique to easy for me to say, unique to the United States. I was at work the other day, and we were talking about the washrooms at our work now have hygiene products, and we're very inclusive, and we have a diverse population, and everyone's moving in that. Canada is moving in that general direction of acceptance, and a majority of places, especially on the West Coast here in Vancouver, they now have individual washrooms. You just go into the washroom, you go into your own little stall, do your own little thing, it's your own little business, you come out, wash your hands, and go back. Right? That's the way it is out here. Yet still, there is a guy who I work with who has an eagle tattoo that runs right up to the bottom of his chin, down his chest, and there's a 1488 on it. And he literally said in front of a group of about 8 people that as far as trans people go, he would go full Hitler on them if he could. This is in Canada, in the west coast of Canada, where we're 34% none on the census when it comes to religion. We're a diverse population with people from all over the world interacting. You can walk down the street in Vancouver, and in 5 minutes you can hear 8 people talking different languages. And this still exists here.
That's frightening.
As a masculine, cis, straight male, I do not understand this sort of attitude or take on gender issues and sexuality issues. Why the hell are you so scared?
As a straight cis guy, I can't imagine giving a shit about what someone's identity is, or orientate any of that. It's the obsession with other people's sexuality is just frankly fucking weird.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Ever has mattered to.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but it's just it's totally insane to just obsess over what other people are doing like that. Unless it's
Yeah.
like, non anything, obviously anything non-consensual or involving someone that's not able to right, but what other people are doing consensually is just I don't know. If someone's gay or
It's none of
trans
your business.
yeah, exactly, none ya.
Yeah, I always say to them, like, what is it about that issue that affects you? And they're like, well, they're forcing it on us. I'm like,
No, no
when
one's
you
going to
say
make
that,
you.
I say to them, when you say they're forcing it on you, are you saying they are forcing you to realize that those other people have the same rights that you do? Is that what bothers you, that these people will have the same rights that you do? And some of them actually say yes. That's what
Mm-hmm.
bothers me about it. And all I can say is I appreciate your honesty. Not everybody who believes what you believe would actually come out and lay that out on the table and say it. So at the very least, I appreciate your honesty.
Right. That's brazen.
Yeah, fair enough. Sorry if I stepped on anybody. I'm in the South,
No,
so
no, you're
it's
fine.
just I
I
see a lot of
was
craziness down here.
unsure. I
I
was
didn't mean to be rude.
unsure if there was somebody speaking earlier. I wasn't sure if they were asking like they didn't understand why trans people are afraid.
No. Why
Okay,
are people so bigoted? Why are they so afraid, so
got it.
threatened of something that's really insignificant to them? I'm a
Why are the
masculine
bigots
person.
threatened?
It doesn't threaten
Roger.
me. I don't give a shit, really. Uh, I, until it becomes unconsensual or, destructive, harmful in some way. Who gives a fuck? Leave these people
Yeah.
alone. In my opinion, they don't. They deserve dignity, honor, everything that we want. Those people
Or
deserve that too.
just
Even
to
if,
exist.
yeah, I mean, everything that I'm entitled to, so is the next person. And just because they're different makes no fucking difference in that.
Man, like I hate to get all freaking like date myself here, but I remember when I was a kid watching Pete's Dragon, and I still remember that song. There's room for everyone in this world, so let's all make some room. Like, how fucking hard is that to just make fucking room?
Right.
I'm,
And,
to-
and, and
It's
I'm totally
people
clipping
say a
that
lot of
out.
things.
Sapper,
I've heard a lot of
Sapper sing
stupid.
that song. I'm totally clipping that out. It's gonna be on the damn show. You watch.
Uh,
You have my approval. If I didn't know we were recording, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah, we're streaming, but yeah, I'm clipping that out.
Yeah,
Just
no,
so you know.
fucking clip it. I don't care. Yeah, I don't even know if I was even on key, but if I wasn't, even better.
I am actually
yeah.
really curious. I want to break down and analyze that, like, kind of learned intolerance that comes with a lot of mainstream theism, because I remember it took me. I sort of stopped believing in God, or I don't know, I don't know exactly when I stopped, but it was a long number of years between when I was totally uninterested in the concept of God, and I started to drop like all of the sort of stereotypical, fundamental Christian beliefs. I carried a lot of like homophobia and a lot of like other just adjacent things that were taught to me for a long time after the fact, and I'm kind of curious about the intersectionality there, and I'd be curious about breaking it down.
I grew up Pentecostal. I grew up in Central Texas, Pentecostal, um, and I suffered sexual abuse as a child at the hands of a grown man. And for years and years and years, the answers I got out of the community around me out of the religious folks that I was in, and out of my own thinking because of how I'd been programmed, was that somehow it was my fault and I was going to hell for it.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Victim blaming.
This is why I'm anti-theist. Sorry, not
Yeah,
sorry.
I guess I'm just curious because I wonder because there was just some lingering with like bad positions and bad beliefs for a little while, and it was kind of weird because once I started to break down my theism and like actually deconstruct it in a thoughtful way, like the other stuff melted away really, really quickly. But it's weird how until that was addressed specifically, the other things were kind of just like I remember even as an atheist watching shit like Daily Wire and whatnot, and like unironic, like you know what I mean, not as like not in a critical way, but just like because that was the place I was coming from, and so it's just I don't know.
I mean, if you're looking for a intersectional take and just see where different people came in their deconversion on this, I'm happy to share. For me, I grew up in the Mormon church, so I was breaking it all down pretty early. Like none of this stuff made sense, and once I was breaking that down, none of the other stuff makes sense either. So I never really became homophobic, transphobic. I definitely still had some things to unlearn. I'm still unlearning some things, to be honest. But I never really developed an anti-LGBT bone. However, I did have to unlearn a lot of internalized racism and misogyny that took a little bit longer to break. Unfortunately, my father actually believed in the whole curse of Ham thing, so the reason why black people were darkly colored was because God cursed them. So that's a horrible racist thing to grow up learning about people. Excuse me. Um, and yeah, and then wow, recently I had an encounter with my mom where I realized how much internalized misogyny she still carried from the church about herself and other women, and it's like wow. So losing that stuff, I want to say, comes in stages. I think some stages may be easier or harder than others, and it really depends on what it was you were being fed.
Yeah, well, I think I'm really past personally a lot of these beliefs, but I guess I question. You know, you look at numbers in America of people who respond as increasingly non-religious over the recent years, and I wonder how many people exist in this space where it's like, hey, we could still be achieving a lot more by reaching out to people that are kind of where I used to be, where they would
Yes.
respond as non-religious, but they maybe vote or behave in ways that are not really that humanist. You know what I mean?
Here's if I may piggyback and yes and on that one. Something I was thinking about earlier, even when I came into the atheist space, when I started watching, AXP and whatnot. Obviously, frontliner there is Matt Dillahunty, and I loved seeing him go angry off on these idiots who are saying these horrible, fucked up things. And then now those are getting really really repetitive, and I find that the episodes, the clips that I really like and enjoy are the ones where you get somebody who's a little bit calmer in there, and you might actually end up having some kind of a back and forth where maybe not, you didn't change their mind entirely, but like get a better understanding where they're coming from and maybe see something differently than they saw before. And those are the calls that are actually like I'm enjoying more. Like I'm enjoying hearing the development of success stories rather than the uh um angry shouting at horrible ideas.
Yeah, I think that's
Actually,
pretty common with most people. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Test.
you're right. I was just gonna say I'm almost going through that process in real time. Um, the
Right?
attitude I took towards theists has begun to change to a kind of gentler, more patient way of refuting their claims because I want the fence rider, and I don't want to alienate the fence rider, the person who was like me, who this didn't pass the sniff test but felt guilty. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. The ones that are, yeah, the ones that are especially, oh man, I think, what was her name, Maureen, on the line the other day, sweet, like 70-year-old woman who was like trying to understand trans issues, and Forrest actually just fucking explained it to her, in the science educator way that he does, and she was like, "Oh, okay, I get it. That makes more sense now." And like, holy shit, this is somebody who could have been totally stuck in their ways, but they were seeking better understanding. Like, those are the people that you can, maybe reach.
Yeah,
Those
and
are the ones I'm most interested in.
they say
Mm-hmm.
that on the show all the time. They're not necessarily trying to convert the caller, but you want to plant, the religions always say plant the seed, but you want to plant the seed for thought. You want people to understand that there's good questions and there's good answers. And I've said that to people I know and their kids, and I don't try to influence anyone to be an atheist or a theist or a specific type of theist or a secular humanist or anything. I'm like, always ask good questions. Ask as many questions as you need to get good answers, and make sure you get good answers. And the way that we establish what are good answers is the deal. That's what you want to learn.
Yeah. But when somebody comes flying in hot where they're just like trying to
Oh, yeah.
um you know preach or scream, what Lawrence did kind of reminded me of the when I was in college, and you just have that guy, and I'm just trying to get to class, and then he's just like screaming through a megaphone about all the things that are sending me to hell. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just trying to get to my fucking lit class.
Bro, I fall
Like,
for that bait every time.
You have to understand that those people are coming in, and there's going to be people who are, I don't know if you want to call it offended by the show. They're offended by the prospect that somebody is not necessarily ridiculing them, but taking the opposing side against them. And they're sitting there listening. They've been waiting on hold. They've been grinding through their thoughts. They're going to come in hot. Not everybody's going to come in hot. Some people are. It's the way it is. But it, in some cases, it doesn't matter how you handle that situation. You're not going to diffuse a person who starts at 11 and works their way back to
right.
10. You're not going to have a successful, meaningful conversation with them from that point. I'm fairly certain. I don't want to say I'm 100% sure. I'm fairly certain that there are people who call those shows who are getting some sort of feedback reward, or either the word count they say, or how many minutes of the show they take up, or keywords that they're using in their script. Like, there's got to be another channel out there where they're playing like, the atheist bingo on the other side. And I'm pretty sure those people are getting some sort of reward, whether it's attention, whether it's financial, or whatever that may be. But they're getting some reward for getting on those shows, firing things up, and then, like they wear getting muted as a badge of honor. They get dropped off the show, and you see them in the chat seconds later. You see them the next week, and they're bragging about getting dropped off the show. So I have a feeling there's some people who are like getting in there with malicious intent. It's really hard to filter those out the way that the world works today. But you still want to interact with them, because the people who are sitting on the fence, who see those people behaving badly, who see those people like, oh, this is somebody on my team, great, let's listen to what they say, and they embarrass themselves thoroughly on that show. People on the fence are still watching. They're still absorbing that.
Yes. Yeah. That's where, you realize, your audience is. Your audience is not the caller. Your audience is not the person that you're even here right now. Us, you and me, having a conversation. You are not my audience. Everybody else in this room, hearing us interact, is the audience. So you got to apply that same mentality when you're dealing with these people, to realize what are you saying and to whom.
The other thing that you have to be mindful of is it's a program, it's a show, it's a call-in show. There's people in the background who are call screening, and not all of the shows that are out there, I can't think of the other channels off the top of my head, but I'm sure the ACA shows get lots of callers. I'm sure the line shows get lots of callers. I don't think too many of the other shows have 25 callers lined up in the queue. So sometimes you end up talking to somebody for 12 or 15 or 18 minutes waiting for somebody else to call, because without it you have no content. So it kind of forces their hand to do that as well. And it's really difficult. I mean, you see how GEE or Seth or even Jimmy tries very hard to keep these people on Forrest as well, gets it given. They're great at this, getting into a conversation, trying to steer it in a valuable direction, right? Something meaningful that's going to last more than 4 minutes and isn't going to require you to hang up and talk about that call for 10 minutes while you wait for another call, right? So there is that mechanic to the whole system as well. Until you have a show that has a consistent number of callers. If you only get three callers in a 1 hour show, that's 20 minutes a call, right?
If I can that for a moment, I can absolutely confirm that that is the case. I lurk on a channel here on YouTube that's by a Christian nationalist, partially because it's entertaining, and also because I like to keep tabs on this show. They don't so much participate in the call-in shows, but they do a lot of trolling and bad faith argumentation in a lot of spaces, atheist spaces, other secular spaces. And then they go back and brag about how they won the debates when they engage, one, dishonestly, two, fallaciously for the most part. And the guy who hosts it, he's a good debater in a certain sense, but he's really dishonest about the way he debates. He tries to pretend like he's arguing from a logical, secular framework, all the while being an admitted Christian nationalist. So, I mean, this absolutely happens.
There's that whole idea of them putting out really weak straw man arguments and that. I'm sure they go. I mean, there's some people who have literally said, "Oh, I'll take the atheist position here, and you can interview me and talk about it." And they're two Christian nationalists. Like, obviously, they're going to present terrible arguments, right? It's
Channel The one I was
Me.
talking about is called The Crucible. It's hosted by a guy named Andrew Wilson. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but
Yeah, I heard Andrew.
Yes, the
Good-
Crucible
good
is really
stuff.
bad.
I mean,
Have you ever?
it's not good, but they think it's good, and I think he gets away with it because of bravado.
I learned a lot about precept by watching the Crucible, though. To be fair,
And I don't I mean, it's he's entertaining. I'll give him that. But Lord have mercy. I mean,
I,
it's
re-
crazy at
I
times.
remember watching. I think it might have been Matt Dillahunty. I'm not 100% sure. They were on a debate channel with three other people. One was supporting Islam, one was a Christian nationalist, and one was a presuppositionalist. And he pointed out that they all disagree with each other, and for sure one of the three of them, two of the three of them were going to hell, and only one of them could go to heaven based on the information that those people were presenting. And they started to go at each other, and you could just see him. If he had a bowl of popcorn, he would have been sitting there just, yeah, carry on, people, go ahead. But have you ever seen Modern Day Debates? Is everyone familiar with that
Oh, yeah.
channel?
oh yeah,
They have people who are great debaters with awful ideas.
Oh yeah.
And I used to actually moderate the chat on that channel back when it first started out. I did that for a couple of years. And it got so bad. It was like, when you're like, MDD's got a stream going, and you go in it for 10 minutes and you're like, oh, do I really want to be here? Is this really worth it? I don't want to take this abuse today. Is this, yeah. And, you run into that. When you run into people who are debating for the sake of debating, they're not debating ideas. They're not, and that's why a lot of these things have turned into discussions now. You'll see when Matt does one of these debate format things, they're going to present an argument, they're going to counter argument, they're going to have 10 minutes to go back and forth each, and then they open it up into a discussion for an hour. And that is a far better way to handle that sort of an interaction. When you get it down to doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, it's all tactics. And I like in the people that I interact with, I'll point out their tactics and point out that they're using tactics, and that I want to hear their arguments and I want to hear their experience. I don't want to hear, oh, well, this guy in this book wrote this 94 years ago. I don't care. Get away from the tactics and let's have a discussion about what you and I think about the topic.
I think that's effective. Sunlight often is the best astringent. If that,
And, the very famous phrase, "The road to atheism is paved with well-read Bibles," or littered with well-read Bibles. So one of the things that I always tell people when I'm having conversations about Christianity specifically with them, read your Bible. Read every page, not just the page the pastor tells you to read. Read every page. And tell me, I always make a joke. I say, yeah, I had a Bible when I was a kid, and my pastor told me, if you read a page and you don't like what's on it, tear it out. There's lots of pages in the Bible, and they all mean something to someone. And if you don't like what's in the page, tear it out. I said, I have a great Bible. It's 9 pages long now.
that, that what other
Anyway,
book of instruction do we take that way, where we go, oh, okay, this is great, that sucks, but this is still a legitimate book as a whole? Where the hell does that ever work anywhere but when you're reinforcing your own ideology?
ask the Christian where the codex is for what's metaphor, what's truth, And what symbolism? Where's the codex that tells us what that is in the Bible, and how come that's changed over the last 100 years? Right? There's no good answer to that question. It's kind of a trap, and they hate it, and I understand why, but it is the thing. Anyway, folks, I have to get up early in the morning because I have to be a little ways away from here very, very early tomorrow.
Oh man, we almost made 3 hours.
No, I'm gonna pop out and put you in the listening mode over here, and I look forward to seeing everybody who can make it back next week, or whenever else Scotty wants to throw this together.
Yeah, I think we're gonna keep the Friday night thing going. We'll try to get a little bit better organized, and but as long as people keep showing up, I'll keep doing it.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Thanks.
It seems
I
like a good
appreciate
time.
the later hours because I work Friday night. There's no escaping it, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to pop in here anyway.
No, we're glad to have you. Appreciate it.
Scotty, I'm not too familiar with this. If I shut down my camera and I hit leave the stage, will I go into the audience and be able to put this on the speaker so I can hear it on the other side of the room?
Absolutely.
Awesome possum. All right, guys, I'm out.
All right, see ya.
Take care, be well, and be good to each other.
Good night.
I was about to say my eyes were getting heavy.
Yeah, it was too. That's why I was like, when he said he wanted to go, I'm like, oh, we almost made 3 hours. I was pretty impressed with this. Yeah, I don't know if anybody caught Lawrence.
I can stick around for 9 more minutes just to call it.
Lawrence did a little chat rant on YouTube, so.
Oh, really? Oh, my gosh. What? Link?
I screenshotted it and posted it in the chat, but there's I can grab the link for the actual stream.
Oh, you mean the live stream that the people who are listening to us right now? Gotcha.
On YouTube, yeah. There's not many views on.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot that we were live streaming. I know you already told me, but I told you I got fucking brain it.
I really should have prefaced that. Said, hey, by the way, we're going live, so don't talk about whatever advice you're doing at home. But I don't give a shit. We're not that popular. We're just here shooting the shit anyway. So.
I don't know what YouTube's policy is, but Twitch, since that's where I started with my streaming, was Twitch's policy is as long as it's legal in the state that you're in, you are not violating, or you are not the state. Well, as long as it's legal wherever you are not violating Twitch policy.
Well, we are.
That's their fucking rule.
We're set for not suitable for children, so I'm not sure we're suitable for
adults
either. So who knows.
I'm barely suitable for myself. Are you kidding me?
We got Carla down there talking about her hymen in the chat. Oh, she's not here anymore.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, dude, the text chat got stupid. The text. I even contributed to some of that stupidity. I'll admit.
Oh, I know, it's funny.
You like it when I talk about my hymen?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Blood doesn't bother me. I don't care.
Yes, I identify as male, and I am very. I'm a hymen. I'm sorry, I told you I'm getting tired. This is stupid as shit.
Yeah, until Carla said that he was ranting in the chat, I didn't even notice it until just now. So, but that's weird because I don't know where he came from. He was, like I said, he was here a few weeks ago. He just kind of wandered in. I think he just found us on YouTube, and Phantom immediately knew who he was and sent me a link to who he was.
Are you talking about Lawrence or Bellop?
Lawrence. He's
that's the Wesley Curry the second.
Wesley Curry the second. He's got a
When I visit you, you shall be homeless.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
I'm telling you, he's got a history. He's got something going on, but he was cordial last time. We actually had fun talking to him, no matter how crazy he was. But man, he went from zero to nut bar real fast.
Was he in voice?
What?
Oh yeah,
what is
hell,
it
he was
with
on
the
camera.
Soylent Green thing that he's talking about?
Oh.
The human flesh food. Like, did Soylent Green happen and nobody told me?
No. I'm muted.
No, we got you.
Well, I'm not
We hear
muted.
you. We hear you.
Okay. No, he's the way he was tonight is the way I've usually seen him.
Okay. Okay.
Like every time I've seen him, he's always been.
Yeah, you
I was
did say
actually
that.
kind of surprised.
Yeah, you did say that
the way-
he was surprised how nice he was last time because he talked crazy, but he wasn't rude. He was just out there.
Yeah. But Sepper, if you go to his channel, he has like this, I don't know, maybe 15, 20-minute video where
He has a channel.
yeah, he
Oh,
has a
yeah.
channel.
Not only does he
but
have
he
a
has
channel,
He's gonna link that.
he's famous. I mean, he was famous. He's still known. He was like the music director for Second City TV and Saturday Night Live, and I mean, he's got all kinds of bona fides.
Yeah.
But he broke his brain.
Yeah.
You said something about him having a stroke.
I heard it was drugs, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
Something happened. I remember hearing something too. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he's got a broken brain, and this is kind of probably why doesn't still have an ongoing.
I can sympathize.
He doesn't have an ongoing career because he gets the way he got tonight. He was just unhinged.
Yeah. I'm trying to find that video where he goes over his dream. It's very like apocalyptic imagery, like what you would read in Revelation. His dream that he talks about.
Oh man, I gotta see.
I mean,
this.
it sounds like it could be an amazing freaking novel. Write your shit down, publish it, like do
there it
something
is.
useful with those ideas.
Okay, so it's about 10 minutes long. I'll link it in the chat.
Thank you.
I'm curious.
It never ceases to amaze me how people who can function on high levels in certain areas carry with them so much dysfunction.
But no, the first time I came across Wesley, he kept telling me that I had heard a voice in my teeth, and it was telling me the thing where he says I will whip you all around or whatever it is. That was coming from my teeth on some specific day in the 90s. I was like, I never heard that. That didn't happen. But you can't tell him that what he says you experienced, you didn't experience. He just doesn't accept that at all.
Okay, yeah, so that's somebody you can't have a conversation with because he was trying to start off like that, like trying to say Satan talked to you, and I was like, okay, well, hold up, I don't think Satan exists.
Yeah, that's just the thing. There's a bunch of assumptions under there. It's like I tend to agree that whatever, like, if you say your experiences that, I don't know, Satan told you this, I guess maybe it's principle of charity, but I tend to trust that you're telling me about a real experience, unless I have reason to think you're lying. But I don't.
Yeah.
It's the whole that was actually Satan part that's in question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The claim is
and not even that, because like, okay, he said you all had this experience October 10th something, and I'm like,
yeah, I can unequivally deny
I'm
that.
trying to think what happened. I was literally trying to think what happened to me on October 10th. I sure as shit didn't hear voices.
Wait, I
telling
remember
me these things.
Even
that
if
you're
you
saying,
personally
these that
forgot
you're
about
saying.
it, you would know if the whole world, except your one forgetful night, had a spiritual experience.
Yeah. Yeah. But
so
he is,
what I'm saying is, like, you all had this experience. No, we didn't.
yeah, but he is so strongly deluded. He just will not accept. And I've heard many people tell him, "Hey, that never happened to me," and he just never accepts that. He thinks everyone in the entire world is lying to him about this.
That's
It seems
crazy.
as if maybe he's very fragile, and I almost have a sense of compassion.
Yeah,
I was
feel-
gonna say it just sounds like mental illness. Like that's a level of delusion that's like you have to think that, I don't know, you're either reading people's minds or everyone that you interact with is lying to you. You kind of just have to have like some, okay, this guy's not seeing things in the same rational frame that.
Yeah, I feel bad for him for sure, but yeah, it's hard to have a conversation with him because of that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know where to begin because the very point where I would begin is I didn't experience this.
Yeah.
I, I really don't know where to go from there.
Do you guys know Big Bad Mama? Are you familiar with that person?
No.
And
I'm not.
Okay. He did an interview with Wesley a while back, and it was pretty good. He Big Bad Mama's an atheist, but he's very cordial and patient and able to reach people that a lot of people who don't have the patience are able to reach. And he did an interview with Wesley a while ago. That was not a total dumpster fire, at least.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to describe what happened earlier other than total dumpster fire because, I wanted to hear what he had to say. I didn't want it to be screamed at me, but I wanted to hear what the message was. But there needed to be kind of an understanding of like, okay, but I didn't hear this. Tell me what you heard, sure, but you can't tell me I heard it too.
Yeah.
Because I believe he had an experience. I don't believe that experience was Satan telling the whole world a message at once on October 10th, 2024. I'm not convinced of that one.
Well, it wasn't 2024. It
was a different year. Oh,
yeah,
so
no,
it
It was like years ago, wasn't it? It was
yeah,
like,
it was like in the 90s.
2015
Or,
Yeah, he said September something 90 or August. I don't remember what it was, to be honest.
yeah,
I do remember the October 10th because it was really close to my birthday. That number stuck out at me. But
yeah.
The year like 90 something. Okay, fuck, I was a teenager.
Yeah,
fuck.
Yeah.
I don't think Satan had the bandwidth back then, so that's for sure.
I mean, yeah, no, yeah, he wasn't on 5G yet. No, he had to wait for the COVID vaccines, and then he could start communicating with everybody through 5G.
Precisely. All right, folks, it's 11 p.m. We've officially hit our 3-hour mark. I'm proud of us all. We've done a great job. But I'm running out of steam.
You and me both, brother. Especially because I want to be able to catch. Apparently, I'm getting clipped in the show tomorrow.
And this whole
gotta
fucking
be awake
time,
for that.
we didn't talk at all about gaming and stuff, and I do want to do that one of these days.
We didn't, but hey, that's a topic for another day.
I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, but I know tomorrow I think Chris is planning on doing his Sci-Fi Saturday thing. If you want to stop in there, and maybe we'll try to do a simul watch party in the Discord or something like that, and we can make fun of Chris over there.
What kind
and I can plug my 2 seasons of Cyberpunk that I did. I have on my channel. I have 2 seasons of a show called Cyber Knights.
What kind of gaming?
I want to say I did just get a really, really cool feel good about a content creator. Somebody asked on my channel today, will Cyber Knight Season 2 be available on Spotify? Because I only put Season 1 on Spotify so far. I haven't produced Season 2 for it. So apparently there's people who want that to be on Spotify, or at least one person does.
And when you're talking gaming, you're talking like tabletop role playing.
Yeah, so I run actual play shows. Yeah, I run actual play shows, Cyberpunk, D&D, and I've got a new show that I'm working on that's going to be like a Marvel 5e. So it's going to be like Marvel-ish world, but we've got our own kind of, we're calling it Marvel Universe 1337. Yes, there's a.
We get it. I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so it's gonna be like an actual play, but with like Marvel characters involved. But yeah, that's my gig. That's what I've been doing for the last
Are you
3
using
years.
like Tabletop
Is
Simulator, or what are you using to?
I use Foundry. I
Okay,
use
I think I bought
yeah.
that one. See, I used to do all that stuff back when I was in my teens and early 20s. And I've sworn for the last 20, 30 years I was going to do it again. I've bought stuff here and there to do it and just never got around to it. So I'm glad to have met you, and maybe you'll drag me into it.
I'm happy to show you what I do. It's definitely is something where I turned something I just enjoy doing into something that can make a little money. You know?
Yep. Well, cool. I'm excited about it. So we'll talk.
All right. Catch you tomorrow's.
Folks, thanks for coming up. Beowulf, I'm glad you were just here and just kind of talked to your wife on the phone the entire time and didn't say a fucking word. That's all right. I understand. Carla, thanks for showing up. Idiot Test, Fandom, Sapper, everybody.
Good night.
I appreciate
I'm gonna go
hanging with me.
to
Have a good night, y'all.
smoking and
It's good to see
baking
y'all.
and still waking.
All right. All right. Have a good night. I have the stage not shut down. A stupid thing. End stage for everyone. Pew.